Good morning. Little later today, but I got this. I got this. Hopefully everyone's having a lovely morning. I am pretty much ready already, but just getting a couple things situated. I I'm struggling over here. I'm just putting on a wrist brace right now, one of my many. Let's pop the camera over, I guess, since we're already here today. One of my many. In the closet beside me, I've got a bag of like 18 different types of braces. I've got stuff for my each wrist. I've got two different ones for my right wrist in particular. Um, a small one like this, and then a more heavy duty one. I've got, you know, knee braces, ankle braces, shoulder slings. I've got a busted body. Let's just say that, to say the least. I've done a handful of things that aren't great. Um, One of which was it Sunday? Sunday. So Sunday, I was lifting and I definitely at the end of my set felt like a real rough pinch, like a real strong pinch in my right for like right in the wrist, right? Like right on the underside of the wrist. And ooh doggy, I thought that pain would go away. I was like, shoot. Hopefully it'll be fine. You're like, whatever. I've injured myself a billion times. This is just a tiny little thing, so it's not a big deal. It's like, whatever. I have wrist problems anyway, so I was like, whatever. It's probably just pinch something. Uh, then that was Sunday. Monday was bothering me a little bit, but I was like, I bet it's fine by Tuesday. Yesterday, it started not getting better either. Let's just say, and so I slept in one of my bigger brace, and then this morning, it really mainly only hurts with internal rotation. So like when imagine like folding your hand down, like where your wrist can't go beyond this point right now because of my brace, and it just stings and like is like a dull, like kind of pain but real tingly, still right concentrated in the wrist. And so normally my carpal tunnel issues that I have with my wrist radiate out, into my hand more. This is like straight up right there in my wrist. And so I'm guessing I just pinched a nerve, really, which usually can take anywhere from a couple days. But then when I start drawing, I kind of have to take it off because can you imagine trying to draw? Like it doesn't work. Girlfriend asked the one time when I was wearing my brace a while ago, a long time back, and she's like, "Oh, well, can you still play games with that, like on the computer?" And I'm like, "Yes, technically, technically yes, but my ability to play well then using my right hand for the mouse is severely diminished. Let's just put it that way. And so, unfortunately, no games usually when I have my wrist brace on, but usually I'll just take it off. And since I keep in a good position, like really, keyboard and mouse, you shouldn't be using your wrist that much. If you're using your wrist directly, you're doing it wrong. You shouldn't have that, like, I don't know. That's a whole debate on DPI and the sensitivity of mice, and in terms of how to accurately use a mouse for video games and especially like shooting games and stuff and targeting and aiming, because like you should be using your arm for broad movements, for big movements, and then just slight little knee jerky movements with from the elbow more so, and tiny little like in conjunction with the wrist. Whereas too many people I feel like keep like bonkers high sensitivity and then they just whip their wrist around, and it's like that's not good. That's not good for anybody, and you probably suck. But anyway, using a controller is probably better. I haven't used one with a brace in a while, but like, yeah, using a controller, perfectly fine. Um, but just keyboard and mouse is no bueno. But not like I'm using a controller for much right now, right? Anyway, as I'm blabbing about my stupid pinched nerve and boring problems here, um, I do have my 5 things up for today. I'm excited to look at them as always. I do have my coffee. I was drawing Squirrel Girl on Monday. Um, it was kind of a mess, but I had this mug sitting out for me today. Squirrel. So there we got Doug on the other side. Little Doug. But yeah, it's weird. This one is the same brand. Like I said, this Ray Dunn. I feel like they just keep changing stuff around because this is the same Ray Dunn as the other, like the Buzz Lightyear one, but it's also way thicker. Like you can just tell it's a thicker actual mug, which is odd. I don't know. Either way, spoiler alert, I don't think we're drawing Squirrel Girl today. We've got The Thing coming out on Friday, along with Human Torch. And I wanted to draw The Thing instead, because I used to always, this whole drawing females the way I have been is like is a new thing for me, a new practice to try and draw more like feminine figures. But big beefy boys, I got that on lock, right? So I quickly, like super quickly, like 10 minutes before stream just now, sketched out a couple poses that I can work with, an idea for good old Ben Grimm, and we'll get that cruising later. But for now, let's look at some cool stuff. So this one is from Shelly Menville, 2D concept artist looking for work. I love a good environment, especially a good cartoony, bright one. So this is definitely pretty cute. I like that oh my gosh, they're trying to concept not just an environment, but the idea of like a whole game, like a early pitch, obviously, for a game. That's cute. I like the colors, the greens with the browns, simple but effective. Always like the color palette shown here like that. The characters don't feel super readable to me. So in a character lineup like this, like there's not, I don't know. I've done a good amount of studies on like character design and stuff like that too. And like one thing that sticks out here to me is like a lot of these, if you were to like make them black and white, they kind of feel the same, right? There's not a sharp contrast between any of these characters. There is not a big enough size differential. So like if you look at the width, let's say, the height is a little different, but really not drastic enough. The width, though, look at the width on all these. Same. Every single one is almost the exact same like physical space it takes up overall. Obviously this frog guy is a little different, but not enough. So one thing that I feel like is always common is needing to push things more, right? We always talk about over tuning, and this is a prime example of they need to over tune these a little bit more. And that would probably be more effective. But that said, it still looks like it's a cute idea for sure. I can see a lot of stuff coming from this. It just needs some finessing. But I enjoy the fact that they even put in like a little dialogue thing to be more playful. And you get a feel for what the game would be then. But yeah, let's see what other kind of stuff they do. If it says 2D concept artist, what have they worked on? A lot of environment pieces. Okay, that makes sense why the character lineup maybe wasn't the strongest. Definitely looks like they've got a good grasp though on environments. That is 100%. These all are pretty solid. Very etchy, very painterly. Let's see the character work they've done. Unleashed, a little design I had fun with. Okay. That one's not bad though, that character. It looks like it got a lot more love and attention. Oh, you guys know I'm a sucker for just basic weapons. Clean. Arcane fan art. One of my friends, one of my good friends, she just got she's finishing she got it done. It's got touch-ups next couple weeks or something. It's arcane tattoo, and it looks very clean. I wonder if I can here, let me off cam, let me pull up. She sent the link of the artist themselves, and they've done some solid stuff. It's cool too, like as we always talk about with social media, to see people grow. And I feel like even just in this person's, let's see. I'm not going to share her images of her tattoo because that's not, I don't want to do that. It looks cool though, trust me. That said, this is the artist. He's like a young kid in Florida. And a lot of like just black and white work, but he's just a kid. He's like in his early 20s. And this stuff is clean, you know? Like I'm impressed. This is some cool stuff. She said she's been telling him that like you just keep this up and it's one of those like you're gonna go far, kid kind of energy, right? Because this is really good. And you can see though like the skill getting better, right, over time. Like you look at some of like we're going further down now, like this from a long time ago. That is not on the same caliber, right? But as you scroll up, you can see these designs, his technique getting better and better and better, which is exciting to me, right? As someone who's loved to help like guide artists and stuff like that and help with that kind of, you know, the learning process and all of that. It is so cool to see growth. And so like one of my favorite things as I always talk about is just scrolling up, seeing where they were and where they are. Like these are night and day different than that first couple ones we looked at, right? These are looking so much better. And I appreciate too, like clearly this guy's comfortable with black and white, right? Their color work, let's take a peek. Like I'm sure the color work is okay, but like, yeah, the color work is all right. Oh God, I hate those kind of things. Don't ever look at that. The weird like ones that make you dizzy. I don't know. Either way, all I'm getting at is that like the way he does color is kind of cool that like there's only a couple pops of color in a lot of these. Like same with her piece that she showed me. It's got like just like a pop of like the teal color. Like here, this pop of Raven's purple. Like I appreciate just that because the full color ones aren't quite matching the black and white skill yet. I feel like that doesn't mean it won't get there. But also, I'm honestly black and white tattoos to me always look better. Full color tattoos just generally have a lot more going on. I don't know. I digress though. His was cool. Let's go back to Shelly Menville stuff from France. Carve snowboarding. Concepts I've done for the VR Carve snowboarding game. Looks like mountains. Nice. It is weird. Like certain games like these, like how many times can you reinvent the wheel? Like we've got so many snowboarding games, but like these still look cool. Not saying they don't, but like wow, there are a lot of snowboard like in terms of environmental drawings and stuff. I feel like it's more about mood and scale at this point rather than like if you're just drawing trees and mountains and stuff like that. Like this kind of piece here, like you're going through and you see these crystals and that kind of stuff. Mood, once you get so good at certain things in terms of so good in the industry, right? We're getting so many things that we've done, so many cool looking things that like it gets to a point of you need to end up creating not just the thing, but like what's the mood, what's the energy, what's the vibe, right? Whereas like the older games, obviously it was more about like what does it just look like? Man, cool stuff. This one I saw Seed World. I saw a couple of these on the front page, and I wonder if there's like an art dump of this, if this is a game. I'm not quite sure what Seed World is. It's got a handful of different artists linked to it. I'd be curious to look up real quick what Seed World is. Oh, I don't know what I was expecting, I guess. Oh, that is Seed World, like plans. Here we go. Where gaming meets creation. Let's build together. Oh. NFT. Seed World. Never mind. Okay, well, we're not looking at this. Though it would be funny what kind of jobs they hiring for. Nothing. Anyway, cool art though. As someone who had to create art for that kind of stuff in games, I understand it sucks, but you know what? Making art is still cool. These are cute. These feel like evolved kind of Neopets to me. Like these straight up have Neopets vibes. And I mean that as a compliment. One fun fact, one of the first digital drawings ever, or quite frankly, my first digital drawing ever, first drawing ever on a computer was oops, hello bot, goodbye bot. My first digital piece ever, done on a mouse, right? Literally with a mouse, and it was a Neopet that I drew for my little sister. What was it? Neopet? Is it Waldorf? Was that a character? Why am I thinking that's a character? No, I'm not gonna know it. There's no way. Like, I'm not gonna find it. What the Neopet was. It was like a cute little like baby deer looking thing. I don't know, but yeah. Interesting to know that the very first digital art was just a Neopets I drew for my little sister with a mouse, which was very difficult to do. And look at me now. Look at where technology has come. Goodness. Okay, so this person worked on a little bit of Project Unicorn 2 with Phoenix Labs, which makes sense. We've talked about that before. That's one of the games that Nicholas Cole and a bunch of other people worked on with amazing art, right? But the game eventually got canned because they never put enough time and effort into the actual gameplay mechanics, which is absurd. And so even though the art kept looking cooler and cooler, the core gameplay loop never really was hammered down. But looking at this is cool. I mean, you know, I've talked about this bunch, Crash and Spyro. Like all of that art, absolutely some of my favorite stuff in existence. Like the playful nature of the Crash Bandicoot and Spyro series and the way that they play with like these like relatively saturated, like primary color almost energy a lot of the time is just, I love it. Like if you were to ask me like what's my favorite overall art vibe, it probably would be something like that. Which if I had more time, the one game is on sale. I got a notification. What was it? Nicoderma? Nico Derico? Was that it? Yeah, this guy's on sale on Steam. Or was. Maybe it's not anymore. Oh, never mind. It was on sale. Man, I told you, this is one game that I would love to buy and stream this one at some point. Like 100, just because I just love this game. The look of it. Like, I respect it. The vibe is exactly what I like. I need it. I'll get it one day. But I don't have time today. But yeah, this is cool stuff. No surprise, I already followed this person then. Because they do cool stuff with Crash and these colorful, playful, stylized pieces. It looks like they even... Is this all... They worked on this one too? I'm pretty sure I have this book in the other room. This series is an interesting one, the character design collections. So I don't know if anybody's gotten these books, but it's kind of an interesting one because normally, like all these are like inspiration fuel, right? These books, it's the essentially like somebody just has an idea and they draw a bunch of cool stuff based off of that idea and they conceptualize their piece and that's it. Like that's literally the whole book is a bunch of different artists do cool concepts. This is awesome that they're in that book though. Good stuff, bud. And so it's not like you shouldn't be, I mean, maybe if you're doing 3D work, these would be actually pretty cool for like concepts for 3D stuff because they're really realized pieces. But from a 2D perspective, it's just kind of like an inspirational thing to look at. And we've talked about many times reading through their thought process, right? Like seeing what they write down, seeing their iterative steps and how they get to where they are. I love it. So I've got a couple of these books. They're fun just to, sometimes when you're in like a mental rut, just to kind of cruise through them, you know, and see some other people's processes. So here's more of these NFT mumbo jumbo Neopets. it gives me, this is a weird comparison, not just because this girl has red hair, but more so like the elegance of these larger creatures then almost reads to me like as if Neopets and Horizon Zero Dawn had like a baby. Horizon Zero Dawn being the one with Aloy, in a very like weird futuristic scenario in which machines are essentially taking over. But yeah, I like this too, like seeing these reference that like these things are based off of the colors and energy of roosters. Then it looks like maybe these are roosters, these peacocks. I actually don't. I thought this was a rooster at first with the little thingy, but maybe not. Some sort of plumed different bird because this one looks like a quail almost. And I don't know what that is with these that cool like crown of feathers. I don't know, but I like it. Very cool. Very cool. Cow? Cow? Co? Co? Vet? Don't know. As always, can't pronounce it. This looks cute though. This is somebody different. This is Stanislav Novarenko. Posted literally 24 minutes ago. I must have just caught this as they posted. I like this. I like the colors. Just basically purples and blues. And then that like sharp contrast to the yellow to make her pop on this. I like it. It does a good job. We talk about, I think it was a couple days ago actually, talking about like how it tells a story, right? How like immediately we get this energy from this drawing of this character here that like clearly inhabited like this, lands on a weird planet, is trying to explore. It's a bit of mystery because you're like, is this inside of then? This looks like it's inside of another piece of ship or structure inside of the planet because it's this clean circle, which usually doesn't occur in nature and stuff like that. So it's like, ooh, what are they exploring? What do they see on the other side, right? What do they see that I want to see? Do they see alien life? Do they see more of these beautiful plants? But yeah, this does a good job of intrigue right off the rip. From Kazakhstan. Ooh, they do miniature painting. Always cool. Always cool. Giant. Looks like the Dreadnought almost, but is it not? It says Night Gallant. I don't know Warhammer enough. I'm pretty sure that's a Dreadnought. Why is it not letting me go? Okay. Cartoon illustrations. Honestly, I think that piece that we just looked at is one of their strongest pieces. These other ones aren't bad, but that one we just looked at is arguably my favorite piece of theirs, looking at all of their stuff right now. Not saying these other are bad, but just saying like in terms of, we've talked about like growth and stuff like that. Like I think that one is their strongest for sure. How long? Oh, this is 7 years ago. Okay, that makes sense. They just have not this is 3 years ago. Okay, so they just need to kind of purge a little bit of their stuff because a lot of these things are old. 10 years ago. Yeah, I would. 11 years ago. Yeah, this person's seen a lot of growth in the past 10 years. Not to say these are bad again, but like a lot more sophisticated pieces here now. Very cool. I like it. Good stuff, Stanislav. This one caught my eye just because it's simple shading. And by shading, I mean there isn't really any. And I like it when people do this kind of stuff with the human form where there's really not shadows, right? Like we don't see any shadows, we don't see any highlights. It's a very neutral image, but it has like still this little bit of red, right? So at least in the tension points where there would be like, there's still some red in the face, red on the shoulders, red on the elbows, red along the abdominal here, like just that little hint of life to the body. Even though everything's really flat colored, still just that little bit to make it feel alive. Ooh, which they clearly, oh, we looked at this last time. This big booty girl with the gun straps. Okay, we totally looked at this stuff not too long ago because I do remember all of this. Dope. Okay, well, not to retread old ground then because half of these things we've already looked at on stream. But yeah, this is good stuff. And I didn't end up following them? Weird. Christoph Young from Turbulent Games in Canada. Beefy. Beefy. And then speaking of beefy ladies, Natalie Pellman worked on Raya, the Infernal Vanquisher of Seekers of Skyvale. Soft spot for large female characters, so Raya was such a fun character to concept. Lots of back and forth collab with Vadim Baklichev on her art direct, on her, oh, just on her, on this character. Yeah, I'm a sucker for a big old beefy character too like this, as I've said 1,000 times over. This is a cool graphic teaser thing. I like that. That's fun. Yeah, she's strong. Her body with this kind of armature reminds me of, oh my gosh, from the newer She-Ra series, there was a character who, without giving spoilers in case people haven't watched that cartoon, which is an awesome cartoon, highly would recommend watching it. Oh my gosh, why am I blanking on her name? Scorpia. Spoiler alert. She looked like a scorpion. Scorpia. I got it. I got there, Orko. Thank you, though. I know. She's literally a scorpion, and my brain couldn't think of Scorpia. But yeah, this energy with like, because of the red skin and then this like hard shell and big, strong female character, and especially this one with more spikes, my brain immediately goes to, oh, I don't know if I want to click. Okay, I was like, sometimes there's some lewd images when you click on that. But yeah, 100% gives me Scorpia energy in a very good way. And even like the hair is long, but it also has this like, it almost looks like it could just be short hair too, like if you cut it right there. I like it. I like this one a lot. I'm curious to see what else she has then, because this is cool. I like this concept art. Oh. Okay, speaking of things that are like She-Ra, are you kidding me? You kidding me right now? This is the sorceress, right? That's the sorceress right there. Different color with that old image right here, but like super similar energy with that blue, that reddish orange, the big hood. That's clean though. I like this. Yeah, I like this person's stuff already quite a bit. They did a lot of this Seekers of Skyvale work. Oh, we've talked about my love for owl characters. Oh, so many cool concepts with this one. Love birds and doing a owl themed one. These are creepy looking. Not very owl themed, but I like them. This is cool. This is very neat. I like this weird motif going on with this ruby that it like encrusted in its chest, clearly taking over part of its body, but it's also how the weapon is constructed. Very cool. They worked on some Overwatch guns. That's fun. League of Legends stuff. Yeah, I'm vibing with a lot of the stuff this person has done. And just female studies. I get the energy because I've been doing similar stuff a lot. I like this where it's just like a slight purple outline. I know that seems silly, but it's like for her sketch. Sonic the Hedgehog shoes. So you gotta go fast. Yeah, these are great poses too. Fun energy. I like the anatomy. Like their stylization here of like these like weirdly like giant thigh gap energy in a way. But like the weird, like we've talked about how like That's one thing I need to get better with is that curvature, right? That like bounce to the hips and stuff like that. And I feel like she's doing that pretty well. Very cool. And then a lot more of these Secrets of Skyvale stuff, which see when I was so when I was talking about character lineup earlier, this is a prime example of that. Like, do we see how these have there is such a these two are almost too similar then too, but like huge difference between these heights. Huge. And like this one is noticeably thinner. Obviously, this is part of this character to an extent, but like this is like beyond thinner compared to this, and the amount of space they take up. And if you were to put these to a black and white gradient, these all don't have the exact same saturation values and stuff. So that's fun that we actually got to see something that I was just talking about. Well, I'm giving this individual just from LA here. I'm giving her a follow. She's got a lot of cool stuff here. Look forward to seeing more stuff like this. I love this energy. Like I said, to me, it screams He-Man energy, which you've already sold me then. And it's just personal work from a few months ago. Was just telling them, I guess you can't see the comment, just said how much I love this piece and how it gives me the sorceress energy. Like, because it feels almost like as if the sorceress was like, if it's like a, a retelling of the story of He-Man, this to me is 100% the sorceress in like a cool new version. I say that knowing full well we have a cool new version in the 3D one. And she also looks awesome, but just saying, I could see this design getting pushed as well. Okay. I'm curious, this studio, I've never heard of Elodie Games. I'm guessing they're more of a production house then, because they do a variety of things, right? Or is it just the Secrets of Skyvale? Rules of helping create. Okay, so yeah, they just work on. They're a house, not a design thing. Oh, this game's is this? Oh, I've seen. We have looked at this before. I think it is definitely a different energy of a game that I'd like to play. It's definitely a MOBA extraction. Not my jam. Visually looks adorable though, as we said, with all this concept art and stuff. I do like that a lot. Oh, there's that girl that we were just looking at. I'm assuming that was there she is. She's on one of their videos. That's funny. Good for that studio then too, like having just the artists actually on. I feel like half the time it's just like weird PR or marketing people. Very cool. Very, very cool. What kind of jobs they got? Nothing. A senior level designer. Cool. Cool. Very cool stuff. Follow her. See some more cool stuff later. And yeah, she made this her splash art. Good call. Looks super cool. Anyway, let's get some music or something. It's quiet. Again, not for you YouTube people. So sorry. Sorry, not sorry. So I've been researching a lot now with like what is legally okay to use and what's not okay to use. And so like in terms of like recording on YouTube. And like I got like the A-OK from some lo-fi artists, but like it was just like in a DM. Like, yeah, that's cool, man. Go ahead, use it. I don't like that energy. I want like an actual like I know for sure it's good. Right? So until I get that kind of stuff hammered out and I understand what music I can keep on YouTube, that then will go on the background of stuff. But for now, we're just listening to stuff here on stream. And YouTube people who listen to this after the fact, I'm sorry. I'm very sorry. But I will pimp this one out. I love this. This is so this little beat. Like, I love that. There's something about this one. It's from Astro Boy. This is a play from that. But yeah, I'm digging all these. I tried actually at one point when I was trying to get some of the YouTube stuff made, I was actually just recording myself. I've played music since I was young. And so we've got guitars around the house. And so I tried to actually use this microphone. Didn't do great. I had to turn off like all of the modifiers I have for my sound and channel stuff. But it picked up the audio well enough, but not my favorite. But anyway, I forgot I was going to close this out and immediately move over to drawing. But so we drew Squirrel Girl yesterday or whatever day that was, right? I wanted to continue drawing her. However, I also wanted to draw the Thing. So he's coming out Friday, right? Him and Johnny Storm coming out in just essentially tomorrow night, really. Excuse me, because I'm pretty sure it's like Thursday into Friday, like early morning. And so with that, I wanted to get a couple ideas of what he looks like with this costume, right? We've seen Ben in 1,000 iterations, right? I've seen some Ben Grimm plenty. I'm assuming that sounds very spammy. Oh, never mind. You're actually helping. I'm so sorry. I've had to like ban a handful of things so far, and no copyright sounds. Okay, no, dope. Okay, I'm so sorry for assuming that was spam at first. Kudos to you. Thank you. I've had to ban a handful of people the past few chats, like trying to spam different channels that were clearly spam. But okay, I will definitely look into this. This looks a little NCS Live Radio. It's hard because like when I'm doing, okay, it looks like they might have more gamey energy. Yeah, I'll save this. I'm definitely gonna look at this later. Thank you. For those off stream, or off cam, I was just looking at this. NCS, no copyright sounds. Very cool. I'm gonna keep this lo-fi right now, but I'm definitely gonna look at this because like I said, I've been researching a lot of like different things to play because I want to have. I don't need like crazy music. I'm not that kind of person when I'm drawing. I need like stuff I want to sing along to necessarily. I just want some clean beats, you know. But yeah, anyway, so I wanted to see what his design looks like in game. So unfortunately, in game right now, all we have is this little image of him, right? That doesn't help me too much. And this, where he's just chilling, right? Sitting. I was hoping we had a little bit more. So we have the video, right? I'm pretty sure they released the, boom, Marvel Rivals Ben Grimm here. So how is his design different? So it looks like they've got like these little lines to denote his like wrist, which is a little different than the usual design. He's a little more like spiky. He's very, jagged like normal, but then it looks like very spiky shoulders and top of the head compared to some of the other Thing designs. His belt is thick, right? That is a thick belt. Holy crap. Like looking at that now, pause, like that's a thick belt. What does he do with it? Why does it need to be so thick? Anyway, his gameplay looks amazing. I'm very excited. As a tank main though, so I play Vanguards. I like Doctor Strange. I like Thor. Those are like my main characters I love to play. But I play Groot and a handful of other tanks too. I'm nervous that everyone's gonna suddenly be like insta-locking tank and wanting to play Ben. When it's like, no, go back to your insta-locking TPS. But okay, so he's stocky. So that's what I knew with Ben. So when I did a couple sketches this morning of a pose, I made him a little stocky, and I figured I would adjust it later when I looked at his actual proportions. Because, I mean, the thing is always pretty, you know, I don't want to say stumpy, but he is not, like, if you look, his upper body is bigger than his lower body, right? His lower half. Yeah, so his design's nothing bonkers, really. The belt is huge. I need to make note of that. The pants are like, what are they? They're more of, they're just like basic shorts, nothing too crazy. And then the main thing of note, like we said, is like he's got this more spiky nature. Or like, I don't know if you can even call it spiky, would you? This more, it's spikes, I guess. I'm sure there's a full body shot there though. I can pull up a couple images here. Let's have like this guy. Okay, he shows his upper teeth when he makes a grin. Not that I think that'll matter. But Marvel Rivals the Thing. The Thing. I can't type with my wrist brace on. Don't mind me typing like a weirdo. Okay, so this is all I wanted to see. Is just like where the shorts terminate. So like normally when I'm looking at like the concept of characters and trying to like replicate, you know, like redraw what they have and stuff like that, I just look at like core components, right? So like when I look at this Ben, the main takeaways, like I said, are spiky shoulders, stumpy as all heck, wide chested, small head, big brows and jaw like normal Ben Grimm. But then this belt has a huge amount of presence, and the shorts terminate about halfway through the quad, which is a short, stumpy quad because the quad is almost just the length of basically his ribs, which, if you study human anatomy, you know that is tiny. But okay, so these are good to work with. Let me grab my iPad now. It's just sitting here. Let me grab that, get all my setup ready, and also take off my brace, seeing as, like I said, it's a little hard to draw with my brace on, unfortunately. But, you know, that's the problem of literally using my arm all the time. That, you know, whether I'm playing games, I'm making art, I'm video editing, or I'm at the gym, my arm gets a good amount of wear and tear on it. So for those that may not know, sorry. It's a Sketchboard Pro in the game room here. It's just a nice big arm, or it's the Ergotron arm with a big sketchboard. It's just a big old board that I just port my iPad right into. Then makes it real easy, real simple. I've got my Cintiq in the office, my big old Cintiq, like my nice Cintiq, the big QHD one is in the office. But I don't have the camera and the microphones and the lights and all that good stuff set up there. That's in here. So we record on an iPad. And that's fine. Okay. So to recap, I guess, while I'm taking off my wrist stuff and setting up everything here, this is the last one I haven't finished yet. This was my Psylocke that I was working on last week. Almost done with her, but I didn't feel like finishing her on stream because it's more of like just nuts and bolts kind of finishing up. And then also figuring out what I wanted to do for her psionic blade, because it's emitting light right now, right? Like it's clearly I have like a nice emitting of that light from the psionic blade from her wrist, but I actually haven't drawn it. So that needs to get figured out. And then, oops, there we go. I've got, yeah, this wrist is not feeling great. My Monster Hunter girl, I need to get that done for next week. This was Squirrel Girl. So this was just my rough Squirrel Girl I was etching in from Monday's stream. Not a huge fan of some of the stuff on her right now. Like I definitely want to readjust that face. Her face looks weird to me. Mainly the nose. I think if I just fix the nose, that'll go a long way. And the proportions of her head are a little too tall right now. Like I want to squash that down. But yeah, this was looking cute with the initial vibes for this one. So I'll get back to her probably sooner than later. Because I did like this one now. But I did, like I said, want to do something with Ben. So long as my wrist allows it. We'll see. It might be one of those days where I have to call it earlier because my wrist is dying, but hopefully not. It hasn't hurt that much in a while. It's mainly, like I said, because when I was lifting on Sunday, like, so if you go to the gym, when you F something up, right? Like it's not like, I came back home and it's sore. That's just, it's sore. You know in the moment. And I knew in the moment when I was lifting on Sunday, I felt it and I was like, it was like a weird, like twisty pinch right in my wrist there. And so that wasn't fun. But anyway, enough about me being a broken goober. Let's see Ben here. So let me get this image. Let's have that one here so you guys can see him there, right? Make it a little bigger. It's weird because I don't have that side screen being a full image of the monitor. It's just partial, so I always have to kind of like pick and choose what I want to have visible. And I normally use, it's called Pure Ref, but that's on the other computer. I never installed it on this one. I probably should do that. Pure Ref is pretty cool. It's basically like I can just save a bunch of images and keep messing with them and put them on like a big board. Imagine like an inspiration board or something like that. So I could just screen grab this, take this, and do, you know what I mean? Like quickly swap them around. So I actually am giving up. I can't get this visible on both. So we're just going to look at this one. That's fine. You can see there's another one on this side, but he's peeking. We'll just look at him though. Anyway, so here was, I literally, 2 basic ideas. Nothing over the top, like super, super basic this morning right before stream. I woke up and immediately iced my wrist. And right after I iced it, I sketched out a couple things and then I iced it again. So 2 super basic ideas, like one of him jumping, like right at the camera. Again, don't mind how unbelievably basic this is. Also, Ben has 3 fingers and a thumb. I'm seeing that now. That is interesting. I guess I never really paid attention to that. So that would alter the hands. But yeah, so like a more jumpy energy, right? He's got, the proportions here aren't too bad, I feel like, already, with, because like I said, I know comic book characters enough. I know their general proportions. So I knew he was always a stockier fella. So like really, if anything, you could make the leg even shorter. Based on this, we would know the shorts would be cutting already like this, and that's his outfit done. I guess it's going, is it going away from us or toward us? Kind of going away from us, right? Because it was jumping towards us, so it would curve this way, the pant. And like, boom, outfit done, because you couldn't even see the belt with this pose, right? It's just kind of there, like behind the space. So if we're just kind of blocking in a little bit, we would have like a little spiky nature here, right? I feel like the rocky texture of his arms, you don't really draw too much of it on the silhouette. Like he doesn't have too much of like a silhouette change. It's more of just like the shoulders for the silhouette. And then like when you're drawing the inner parts, at least, again, it's a 3D model. So obviously they're not going to waste the geometry to make him super actually like crunchy, but still pretty crunchy. Got like super notable pecs, right? Really, really huge chest, right? Again, I don't know if this is the pose we're sticking with. I made another one that's like super basic too. Like I said, a handful of basic. I just did 2 quick basic poses. This honestly was my least favorite one. I like the other more generic one I had sketched out, but looking at the character, I just kind of want to quickly bop in what I think more specifically it would look like with him. See, like here having a super smooth back does feel weird though, so I'm going to make it like a little craggy, just a little bit, just for my own sake. Stuff like this is hard though, because like you want to just go like similar shapes, but you have to really be careful when you're doing characters like this with organic like nature to them, with rocks and stuff like that. I've talked about that before when I've done my environment stuff in some of the levels where it's like you need to really be like with trees in particular and stuff like that. Like nature's weird that you have to make it look random, but also make it look good, right? And to make it look good, you have to find that balance of what looks right in terms of like big to small to medium to large to large is big, but like big, small, and medium. You have to like play with those and play with how they're clumped and where they exist in space. So a way that it feels natural, but also a way that it looks good. And sometimes those two ideas are at odds with one another, looking natural and looking good, right? And I feel like that's sometimes the hardest part with like organic stuff for me personally, is riding that line of what is good versus what is natural looking, because sometimes you have to make it look a little unnatural to make it look good, but it's all a fine line. So right now I'm not even like, as you say, I'm not even, because he doesn't have much in the way, like he has muscle definition still, like we would see this little bit of like bicep bulge kind of here, like the fold within the inner part of the armpit and stuff, like we would see these things, but not that much, right? He's still just a lot of rockiness. So, and the shoulder pieces are like big rocks that then form right into other rocks, it appears. So I'm drawing these more like spikes, but really they're just rocks that have they're not even spiky if you look at them, I guess. Some of them, it's more so just the idea it's facing upward instead of being flat, right? All these other rocks are like flush with him, whereas these are essentially the same idea of the same rocks, right? They're just oriented in a way that they appear a little spikier, which is something to note when we're drawing, that we're not drawing like hard stalagmites or something like coming up from the ground. We're drawing just rocks that just so happen to be oriented in a way that make them have a sharper look. Oh, and then his 3 fingers, my goodness, how is that? I wonder if that's normal. If we've got comic book people here, I mean, like I've got comic books all throughout the house, but I'm not a huge, I'd be lying if I said I've loved the Fantastic Four. They're always the coolest. Like, I like the Fantastic Four. I think they've been kind of screwed in terms of media other than comic books lately. Like, they always get kind of the shaft. But I honestly don't, like, I don't know if I have any individual issues of Fantastic Four, like any stories. Like, they're included in plenty of things that I read here and there, but I honestly don't know if I've ever gotten even any trade paperbacks or anything that are just strictly Fantastic Four. So my knowledge of Ben and thinking, does he actually have 3 fingers, or is that just a Marvel Rivals thing? No clue. No clue. Not that making it 3 fingers really changes all that much on my end, but just saying. And not that I'm even really drawing a hand outright right now. I'm just kind of, well, I don't know what I'm doing, actually. I don't know why I'm drawing that part of the hand. That doesn't even make sense. It would be the thumb would be covering it from this angle. Dumb. And then we noted he had these weird, like, his wrist actually had like a break in the texture of the rockiness. He had like these little like 2 stripes, right? So we'll include those just so, actually we'll go this way. Blocky, blocky, blocky. This hand looks really dumb. I'll redraw this hand if I decide to keep up this pose, because that looks really, really wrong. That's the problem when I just block stuff in sometimes, and then when I start giving more detail, like, that looks really dumb. What was I thinking? I don't know. I was thinking, I've got a few moments, let me sketch something in. So I wanted this fist a little closer, and I think what I'm looking at, what is wrong with part of this fist too, is I want it, the orientation of it, I kind of want it would be more of like, I'm picturing it like it's like right now I had it drawn in a weird angle, right? Whereas if you think of how the wrist would be coming at us and the fold of this arm The thumb would be more up here, I feel like. I like to, the thumb helps me place the rest of the hand sometimes, just picturing like where that thumb exists, because that kind of orients immediately. In my head, I don't know if it does for other people. But like then we would have it coming towards us like this, maybe a little more. No, that still looks weird. I don't know why my brain is not braining right now with what his hand would look like. Since it's like right in the foreground too, I don't want it to look stupid. I'm the worst when it comes to like, I'll just draw stuff. And then since everything's so digital, I'm just like, I'm just going to warp it. I'm going to twist it. I'm going to do this until I go, oh, now it works. I'll draw it like doo-doo, and then I'll mess with it till it's not doo-doo. Pro tips, you know? Doo-doo until it's not doo-doo. I'm pretty sure Bob Ross said that, right? I'm pretty sure that was a Bob Ross quote. Doo-doo until no doo-doo. That is the way of the artist. Okay. And honestly, one of the big things I love to do with hands when I'm struggling like something like this where my brain just is not like, it's just a fist, but somehow my brain is not clicking how the fist would be looking. Sometimes I just take a picture of my own hand in the exact pose I want and then just reference that. Okay, well, this hand is looking stupider and stupider the more I keep messing with it, I feel like. I don't know what's going on. Doesn't matter. I'll get a sip of coffee and maybe that'll give me the energy to not make it sucky. Okay. He's starting to look like this sketch reminds me more of Abomination rather than Ben. They do have similar energy, the way that they've got the shoulders. Obviously, when Ben is orange, this will look markedly different than a green Abomination or what's the other one? Chiala, the more of like the alien one, Chiara. I can't remember his name, but it's like an amphibious looking abomination, kind of. Cannot remember. But okay, so what does Ben have? If he's like looking up at us, right? This Ben has like thick ass brow and tiny nose, right? So if this is, excuse me, brow line, right? We'll actually draw the thick brow, right? He's got like a little bit of craggy head going on. That sounds weird. I don't know if that's the term. I would never like check Urban Dictionary for that. Craggy head. I don't know about that. But I'm sticking with it. That's what Ben has. He's got craggy head. Don't quote me though. Quote Bob Ross. Bob Ross. Doo doo until no doo doo. So they are itty bitty eyes. Holy cow. Like itty bitty eyes and itty bitty nose. Like real schmitty bitty. This face looks real dumb. It's very cartoony. Not to say he's not a cartoon. So he's got like pretty notable cheekbones too, I feel like. And this part is very curved forward, more so than most like human characters. It's more accentuated. So again, for those of you tuning in that don't know, usually my stuff looks like really random and garbage as I'm sketching in. But then trust the process that it does look good in the end. Or it looks gooder, right? It looks gooder than before. It gets better. And if it doesn't, it's okay. But usually it does. I look forward now to looking up this. I'm glad I've got a lead now that NitroCat gave us the idea of using the no copyright, the NCS, that YouTube page. I'm definitely going to look into that. Not that I don't like these tunes, but I do feel bad the idea that like my YouTube stream then hears nothing, and then the VOD of this is just void of sound other than my beautiful rambly voice, you know? I kind of want him like in some way, just because I feel like that seems more Ben Grimmy, right? Like he's just yelling. I don't know. He's always, oh, I wish I looked human again. I'm so angry. I wanna be a real boy, right? That's Ben Grimm, right? That's what he says. Like I said, I don't read a lot of I don't read a lot of Fantastic Four. I'm pretty sure that's what he says. Oh, I want to be a real boy. Damn it, Johnny. Similar energy, right? He's looking just like a weird golem. Golem is in like a rock life form, not Smeagol. Golem would look very different. He does always have an itty bitty head, but I don't want to make it so itty bitty that it feels dumb. Again, it's funny that I keep choosing in my head. I'm like, cool, I have a sketch I'm going to work with, and then I grab a different sketch once stream starts. I'm like, wait, why am I drawing this one? I said I was going to draw the other one. For perspective, to understand, like with Squirrel Girl, like, so on Monday, I literally had sketched out a bunch of stuff before I fell asleep of Squirrel Girl. And they all look like garbage, like straight garbage. I could not draw. I was so tired, but I was like, crap, I want to have an idea for stream on Monday. And like, look at these. This is doo-doo, 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 doo-doo. This pose, this ugly ass pose that my brain at like 2:30 in the morning was like, I want to do something where she's jumping. And it was like, that was dumb. And I immediately nixed it and went back to like the divey pose. And then I was like, oh, more of like an archer. And then I hammered on this. And I was like, okay, cool. In the morning, I'll do this pose for Squirrel Girl, right? I'll work with this. That'll work. That's cute. You've got like fun dynamic energy of like the hand being really close. She looks very feminine still. We can chunk up those thighs. And then dumb me goes through and starts drawing over some of these sketches, right? And I'm like, oh, on stream, I'm like, this could make this better if I did this. Or, you know, playing with these poses more. And I'm like, all these could work now that I'm finessing them a little bit. And for some reason, my brain decided to finesse this ugly one. I was like, I'm going to make it work. I swear I'm going to make it work. And so that led to this, which then led to that, which is so stupid that like, instead of doing the pose I had planned on, which was this one, my lizard brain decided to just do something completely different and waste all of my time on stream trying to fix a broken pose. That said, I think the pose turned out pretty cute still. Again, her face, ugh, ugly face. Not ugly, but just needs fixing. But anyway, that's what I was saying here with Ben. I literally had, this is the other pose, just a basic like he's boxery in this game. He clearly has like a lot of like, not boxing moves, but he feels like it. He's very punchy. He's very like stocky feeling. And so I wanted to capture that. And somehow that's the pose I came up with. And yet here I am noodling with this instead. That's the way of the world, apparently, in my stupid stream mind. So doing this, though, I feel like if we... Oh, gosh, it's small. He still has, like, that big old chin, right? So he can yell. But I'm curious, do we have in the video anywhere where he's actually, like, exclaiming? Do we see him open his mouth? I'm curious how they decide to animate it. Okay, so it's more of a hinge, right? So if we look at the way his mouth is moving, it's not opening like that traditionally. If you look, it kind of looks like they've got the idea of like a hinged bottom jaw. Like imagine like the old Masters of the Universe, there was a trap jaw figure, and he had like the bottom hinged mouth, and it would just kunk, 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 open down like that. That's kind of what I'm picturing with Ben here. And so that helps. That helps my brain actually think of how I want to draw that a little more. So don't imagine it like a traditional mouth in terms of how it would open. Picture it more of like, obviously your mouth is a hinge. I'm not an idiot. I know how the anatomy works. But like even more so of a hinge, like a separate piece. And it's really like his bottom lip idea kind of continues because it's like a curve, right? Like this piece here is like the whole lip, if you will, the way like the rocky texture bends, right? So like the rocks would like kind of go like that, if that makes sense. Like if this was a rock piece. Yeah. Now he looks like a Muppet though. Oh, that's not the energy I wanted either. Oh goodness. Oh goodness. What is happening? Who's making me draw this pose that I said I should have drawn the other one? Who's doing this? But it's weird because when I draw faces, sometimes I'm like, boom, done in like one quick sketch. And I'm like, wow, that was actually the weirdly easiest part. And then other times I'll sit here for like a day and I'm like, why can I not get the energy that I want out of this? Like, at all. I don't want to like just pop. Like, he is heavy, right? Such a large brow that when I color this, or even if I don't color, if I just were to do line work, right, like my sketchy inks, like this would be in like pure shadow. So let's just do that right off the rip, even in the sketch form, right? It's just in shadow. I think that's going to help me visualize it better. But let's raise this one like heavily, the brow. Because right now it's very flat feeling, right? His two brows feel very similar, which obviously doesn't make it feel organic as we talk about. So just imagine that's all in shadow. Kind of. And then the cheekbone would be down here, giving a good shadow. And then if we just erase a little bit for his eye, right? Ooh, that's a really small brush. Itty bitty living space. Yeah, I'm super stoked for him either way. Like, I'm more stoked for the map. So I play way too much Marvel Rivals in my free time. Like it's become like a problem. Like my one game I play now is this. Like I don't care about anything else. When I've got free time, I'm like, man, I should grind some Marvel Rivals ranked. Like I got to get better. But because I play it way too much, like a crazy person, that means I run into the same levels, right? Like when you're playing ranked, you've got like the same, is it like 6 levels or something in the game right now? 7? I don't know. There's a handful. I'm not saying there's not enough, but when you overplay the game, then like I've been, that's one of the things that you run into a lot then is like, oh, I need more content of just levels because we're playing the same stages over and over again, which helps that you can get like really good with them, right? You learn a lot of the stages a lot better when you have to keep playing them and you learn the ins and outs and like where people are going to flank from. Or like I said, I play as Thor, who like he likes to get some high ground a lot and do that kind of stuff. So like I learn more when I play it more, but also like that's a lot of playing the same maps. And the new Dracula map looks dope. Like it looks way different than all the other maps we've gotten, which is kind of, oh shit, kind of makes me nervous because I'm like, man, that feels like a totally different gameplay style for this level. But I'm cool with that. I like the idea of it being different. I like the idea of something new. So we're losing something here. I don't know what's going on when I started doing these rocky bits. Let's just kind of simplify because he's got it's almost like a hat, right? Like a hard hat energy, the way it's like segmented. So I'll just cut it there. I forgot the erasers are real big. And then slightly more open eye, right? I like giving it like that curve. I want it like way more open. Oh, too much. Oof, man, yeah, my wrist is not feeling great with some of these right now. All tingly. Stupid pinched nerve. So I'm pulling back now. I overdid the shadows when I was blocking them in like crazy. And now I'm just kind of pulling back and sculpting these back in just because it was too much, which is obviously fine. I always, if you've been around the stream, you know I say every day, overtune it and then pull back. Every day. That's the move. Overtune and you can always pull it back. But you don't know if it works until you overtune it. Like here, I made this. This is too overtuned. Like that's too big of a jut, right? It doesn't feel. It feels too much like a weird mushroom head on it, which is not quite the vibe we're going for. So what if we keep it like still a notable difference? I wonder if part of it too is I think that's it. So one of the problems here I'm seeing is my perspective is off on his head. Because if he's looking up at us, right, this part of his brow would actually continue this way, right? The curve of his head is like this, right? So if we're drawing this head, right, here, let's draw. Let's do my quick Loomisy head, right? So if his head is like this, right? If this is brow line, look at the curve of this brow line. Like, yes, he's got like his crag head, or head crag, as I weirdly called it, right? But then if it's like brow and brow, like this, little nose, right? And then his curvature would still be following suit this way, like we have, right? Because that's the shape. Little eyes. This is, do not like focus on how ugly this looks. I'm just getting the idea across of what I'm trying to say. And then like a hinge here, right? So the hinge is open. Gah. I wish I looked like a normal boy. Oh, I'm so angry, but I'm so strong. Again, that's Ben. That's him. That's what he says. And then cheekbone, whatever. Anyway, this looks stupid, but all I'm getting at is to illustrate that like this part of his head is still curving around, right? Like that looks stupid, but it's curving. And I think that's what I'm getting lost on this one is it's not curving. It's just kind of existing in a flat space, which is not helping move the eye in the way that we want it to look. So if we adjust and kind of play with this curve a little more so it comes down to the cheek rather than up, I think that'll help sell the perspective of the head that we were trying to establish, that he's actually angled and looking in a different direction. Or it's facing a little upward, I mean. Again, not sure why I'm focusing so much on his head, even, to be honest. Like, that's not... Normally, I'd be blocking in the body more. But for some reason, I've just been, like, looking forward to drawing Ben, because I got it in my head I would. And I've been drawing just, like, overly pretty females for so long now that I'm like, gritty, ugly... Not ugly, but gritty, like... whatever kind of guy. Cool. Yay. So I'm just, like, having fun being a little messy and a little like crunchy and whatever with him. So I think I needed a break from sexy ladies. It sounds weird. Yeah, I'm not sold on this mouth. I don't know what it is. That feels weird. I know we talked about the hinge nature, but something about the connection points here at the cheek are like not working for me. I feel like it's too wide is the problem. I think that's part of it. I wonder if we like tighten these up, the cheek. I don't know. I'm going to stop drawing his face in a sec, though, just so I can move on and maybe get a better grasp on other things, not just this face that isn't really coming along anyway. Like, it's coming along, but not quite where I want it yet. I'm going to blame it. Everything I screw up today, though, just a heads up, I'm going to blame it on my wrist hurting so bad. Man, this looks like doo-doo. If only my wrist didn't hurt so bad. Built-in excuse. It's fine. No excuses. I hate that. I'm one of those people that, like, the second someone gives me an excuse for real, though, I'm always like, you shut your face. Did you screw up? Okay, cool. That's it. I don't care if you screwed up. Don't give me an excuse. To a fault, I am like that. I understand. But I'll joke around with my own here. But yeah, no. No excuses in real life. I'll joke about it, but goodness gracious. Hit me with an excuse. Get out of here. Own up to what you did or what you didn't do, and that's fine. That's life. We all do it. I don't know why I gave him like this giant ball chin here, because he doesn't have that. Cool. That's kind of his face. I still don't know about this weird little bit here that I've got like moving upward like it's a lip. Don't know. Anyway, let's get more of his body done. And then in the end, decide not to even use this pose. Because that's what I do, right? That's the way the cookie crumbles. Or maybe for once I'll do a couple drawings. Psych. That's not going to happen. I do one that is left unfinished. That's the way I do things. That's the way I like it. And I'll never get more. So he actually has, so I did let's focus on, since he's going away from us, right? I did the pec very like flat, but technically at this angle, since it's pretty extreme, right? His pec would be curving quite drastically in this direction, right? Like his pec and like the clavicle area here. This would be a pretty hard curve. This one I'm okay with kind of like pushing up, because when you push your arm forward like that, it does push the chest forward, right? It constricts the chest in a tighter way. So it does become flexed. So it would kind of round out a little more than this one, which would curve around his, like the actual flow of his pose here. And because the arm is being pulled back, when you pull back your arm, your pec gets stretched to accommodate for the shoulder, because the pec connects to your anterior deltoid, which is the front of your shoulder, right? And so if it's stretching back to connect with that, obviously has gotta get quite thinner and longer, which is what we'll do here. Just blocking it. None of these blocks make sense. It's just the idea like, look, he's craggy. Actually don't know what the lodge, like where the shoulder piece, like where his shoulder actually will start. So I'm going to start here, I think, and make these be the ones that look like they're kind of jutting out a little more heavily, like shoulder. Like we said, how it's like they're oriented in a different direction, a little higher. So let's get those in like that. Kind of, that looks fine, right? Yeah. Like I believe that being a shoulder. Maybe it'll be like pulled back a little more too. Like, so let's elude by giving a couple more like spikes in the back here coming upward. So it feels like it's like a rounded piece of a shoulder. And then how does his bicep? His bicep would be like this whole chunk here, right? Like this giant mass. So the tricep would be a little bit further back. And then let's have the forearm connect. He's real foreshortened here, so I like how he has no like actual like the way I'm drawing him today, he's got no movement to his, he's just fists. You know what? It's clobbering time. You know what? He doesn't ever need to make anything other than a fist. It's the thing. Orientation of the fist feels a little off. I wonder if it should be a little more curved. And we distort it a smidge. Hold on. When you start distorting, it's always weird if you don't set the bounds of where the box for the distortion should be. So I think that's what was looking weird there. Oh gosh, what did I do? Something like that looks good-ish. Doesn't super make sense. So I think the way we solve that is this bicep needs a little bit more of foreshortening too. So the forearm feels like it's coming towards us rather than coming from away from us, right? So the bicep will get a little squashed in this. And maybe the anterior deltoid here would be less curving that way and more coming backwards like that. So we give more space for the bicep. And then we can give this little bit of forearm foreshortening, right? Not sold, but I like it more. At least it makes more sense. Yeah, kind of weird looking, but once we block in the like the rocky texture, I think it'll be maybe not. Actually, let me redo this. Let me go back to where we just had it and see why it doesn't look right. So I think actually the problem here the fist is really big and it should be further away from us, right? So I think that's kind of where I'm playing with at the moment, is just playing with the perspective here so that the fist makes more sense because it was a little too big. I know I'm trying to sell that it's, you know, giant punchy hands, right? So obviously there would be a humongous fist. But again, if everything's big, nothing is big. And so if I want his other fist to be bigger, then this one needs to exist in a slightly smaller space. Maybe. Does that work a little better? Should be rotated then, possibly. To account for the, oh gosh, no! Uniform. Yeah, I'm really struggling with hands today. I don't know what's going on. Especially when I'm just drawing stupid fists. Come on, man. Hey, I think it's my wrist's fault. That said, it really is hurting. Farge, stupid wrist pain. I don't know if I'm going to the gym today then. That's a big old maybe. And by maybe, I mean probably not. Oh well. Let's play with his size now because he's kind of small on the page, right? So let's make him a little bigger. We'll definitely need to adjust. Yeah, the hands are not selling this image at all today. Oh, I forgot I'm out of coffee. If I'm out of coffee, that means I'll have a piece of chocolate instead. I need energy somehow, right? For those that don't know, I've got my Dove little dark chocolates. I have on the hour when I stream, when I get my art in, just because it, one, is delicious, and two, I need to eat a little something, right? I have breakfast, and I don't eat lunch until after stream, so gotta get some energy in somehow. And if that energy has to be in the form of dark chocolate, I guess I'll do it. You know, I'll bite that bullet, literally. Anyway, I think we'll readdress the hands in a bit. Both hands, because they're both ugly. But I feel like I'm getting too lost in all these little details right now. So let's, oh my gosh, I realized what's wrong with the hand. Dumb me, holy crap. The perspective, okay. So I'm gonna draw this right now. So the arm here, we've got shoulder. We've got, like, you know, the fold of the big bicep, the tricep coming this way, right? But then we have this kind of receding and going this way, right? So imagine this is the arm, okay? Maybe a little bit more foreshortened, let's say. So it's a little more like this. So the rings, if you will, of the perspective are going like this, right? That makes sense? Enough? The shoulders, rings would be going like this, right? The perspective of the shoulder. So this fist, technically then, I'm drawing it, if we look here, as if it's angled where we see a little bit of this side. It would be quite the opposite because the arm is curving this way, right? So since the arm is curving that way, we would see this side of the fist, right? And my brain was not braining. So really, if you've got your thumb on the outside, right, you would actually see the thumb here, and you would see more of the curvature. Maybe it would be foreshortened for sure, but more of, like, this energy, like that, right? That is an ugly looking hand, again, as per my usual today. But if that makes sense, and so the hand should continue this rotation too. So we would see, instead of going like this, right, for the finger bend, right, and then, like, imagining that the finger would conclude here, right, like that, it would be the opposite, in that it would be going a little bit towards us, the viewer, instead, right? Angling towards us and stretching out that way. So then this is knuckle, by the way. This spot here would be like the knuckle. Big old knuckle. And maybe even break the bounce for the pinky there, right? And then the thumb, you know, when you make a fist, right? Your thumb overlaps the thumb. I mean, the other points. Imagine if you did this with your thumb, you'd break your hand. You'd break your thumb every time you would punch. Like, your thumb needs to exist outside of the main fingers. Otherwise, you'll break your own thumb when you punch. And I'm pretty sure Ben Grimm knows a thing or two of punching. My wrist, though, holy cow, today. So imagine it goes like this, and then here we'll see like a little bit of he's got stubby hands too, so everything with Ben is just kind of a little stumpy. But here we're seeing too much of this then, right? So I just want to allude to that a little bit more than showing it. So again, not the greatest hand ever, but the perspective at least makes sense. I hope that made sense. So the rotation of the hand is going the opposite of what we originally drew. So here, now I can erase, I'm just going to use this hand since I already drew it. So get rid of that, like the guidelines of that arm that I was trying to show off. Like the perspective, show the perspective. Thumb feels a little, holy shoot balls. Oh my gosh, I'm not looking forward. So Monday and Wednesday nights, I also play games with some of my best friends. And I play games on the computer. And this wrist, man, I'm gonna take so much ibuprofen later, you don't even know. Okay. Yeah, no gym today and lots of ibuprofen. That's kind of a bummer, but whatever. I've learned over the years that when I hurt myself, yes, I like to push, but pushing that thing that's not good is not ideal. So like tonight I've got a bunch of stuff at home. Like, I'm a fitness nerd. I have plenty of stuff at home, but it's not the same. I really just miss going to the gym right now. But I'll just bike maybe for like an extra chunk of time again tonight instead of which is always lame. I hate when my lifting days become cardio days. Like, I already do cardio every day for like an hour and a half. So then when I elongate that and make that my whole day, it's like boring. Okay, so let's see if this even made sense, because I drew it on a different perspective then. So this still doesn't make sense. Son of a... Either way, you get where I'm getting at, though, is that the fish should be rotated a little differently. So let's just erase this ugly one. That's super wrong. And maybe see if we can just warp the hell out of this weird one that I just drew to make it make more sense. I feel like part of it is the thumb now. The thumb's jutting out too much. Man, okay, so this is one of the problems of trying to draw it as an example and not actually just drawing it on the thing, because now I drew it as an example, which made sense for the arm that I had drawn in the example, not the arm that exists here. Either way, this looks a lot better than the previous one. The previous one didn't even make sense. Okay. Man, I am getting Super distracted with things today with this. Can I? Nope, 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 nope. Oh my gosh. Who's doing this? Warp it. So right now I feel like it just needs to kind of. Yeah. Okay. And then obviously when you warp the hell out of stuff, one of the things is you got to be aware that like it looks ugly. You need to adjust it after. But the energy is at least fixed usually. And then you can fine tune the actual shapes. That looks dumb too. Man, I am not happy with my thumbs. Small thumbs here. Eh, I don't care. I don't care anymore. I'm done. Good enough for the idea of what that hand would be. I don't care. We'll reassess once I have more parts done. Oh, yeah, that still looks stupid. I keep saying I don't care, then I look away and I'm like, what if I do this? Oh, yeah. Whoops. Should be on distort. So I'm doing less back of the hand and more just like knuckle was the thought. That when I zoomed out and saw that it looked like it was too much of like this part of your hand, right? The actual back of your hand based on the perspective I wanted. Still looks weird. Don't know why. Let's work on the legs. Or let's remedy the chest, because I don't think from this angle you'd really see that belt really we talked about, right? So we got this huge ass belt on Ben. Let's go back to this picture. Right? Big old belt. Big old belt. But I don't think having the belt would be super visible. Because the idea is he's like pushed away. So I don't know if eliminating the belt entirely is the move. We'll see if it looks weird without any sort of belt. Because I feel like if you add too much here, like in this region, it changes the pose a little bit, but I don't know. Like it's less extreme if we do something like this. Like if you include the belt, you almost need to extend the legs a smidgen to account for where the hips now exist and the groin. Which I kind of don't mind actually. I like his big old chunky belt. So part of me wants to make sure I draw it. The problem here is that we're getting very tangenty with where this leg will terminate, right? Like unless so the groin, let's say the groin goes like this from this perspective down. Don't really see his abdomen because this angle and the belt is so big. Kind of helps him looking more stocky than two possibly. Big old 4 up in here, just blocked in. His legs curving away from us like we said. Too lazy to redraw that, so what if you just grab it and move it? Digital drawing at its finest. Lazy. So the leg here would actually be, since the belt is so high, the leg would actually be coming out from this perspective, like from the other side of, like you wouldn't even see it coming from the belt. It would be coming from more of like way up here. So we get kind of that crotch a little more, I think it would be a little shorter, right? From this perspective, let's make it even shorter. Like crotch right there. Like he literally has, if you look, like the outline on his crotch. So I'm not drawing the crotch to be a weirdo, though I am a weirdo. I'm not drawing it for that reason. I'm just drawing what I see. And that's a big old thing. Is that what I meant to say? I don't know. It's things thing. Think swing thing. And we've got like a lot of tension at the leg there, right? So I don't want to overdo with wrinkles because that's not the kind of drawing this is. But you got to show some push and pull, right, on the material. So usually I end up drawing more wrinkles when I first sketch out, and then I kind of tone it down with what looks good in the moment. But it doesn't hurt in the sketching phase just to kind of get an idea of where the push and pull exists between the material, right? Again, can always tone it down once you have the information, but it's harder to make up the information after the fact. I said I'm not drawing the arm more, but this arm didn't have any like little lines to allude to the rockiness, so I'm just quickly putting that in just so when I zoom out, it doesn't look stupid and stand out. Because sometimes if you don't have something up to snuff with the other pieces, it stands out in a weird way. So like even like the chest here, I'm just blocking crap in just so it doesn't look like negative space right now in my drawing when I reassess it when I zoom out all the time. I feel like his pec now, looking at the way the leg is, this pec, I want to have like a little bit more presence. So I wonder if it goes down and then curves up here rather than being a smooth curve that I had it. So then this way the pec actually has its own kind of breathing room and would make more sense here because this is where it connects to the shoulder. Yeah, I like that more. I like it. Block in a little bit. These rocks. His crag. Ain't that some crag? God, that foreground and this one. The more we draw, the dumber it looks. Yes, that was pun intended. Don't mind me. I usually have a lot of really, really dumb puns thrown in. I can't help myself. I've got a problem. So I don't know if drawing this leg here, if you would need to see more, right? So like obviously his feet exist, right? Beyond here. So like what I always say when I draw is don't just draw what you see, draw what you don't see, because that helps you understand the shape more. So like if I'm drawing here, let's say, let's change color just for the sake of argument here. Like, so right here, obviously we would see his leg here bending in space probably, and then like his foot like that. Based on this perspective, right? You would see calf and like shin here and like the fold of the calf back there and like the foot coming. But does that help? It do be like that, as they say. I don't know if that helps sell the image, or in this instance, do we just kind of fake it and just make it up and say like, actually, you just don't see anything back there? Because sometimes that is the better move. Like giving less information sometimes helps allude to what's there. Like anybody who's looking at this knows he has more to his leg, right? But for our sake, I wonder if it sells the other parts, right? Like the fist and the upper body, if we just kind of give a fold of the leg instead and then just leave it at that. It is interesting looking at how they do the muscle. Like they sell the muscle in the rock. So like obviously he has his quad still, the different definition of pieces, but it's in rock form, which is actually pretty cool. I like this. So we're doing the same thing, like the idea of like the two main. So in your leg, right, you've got two main muscles that come out. Obviously this is the crudest of drawings, but the idea still exists that, you know, you've got your two big muscle groups. And so that's what they're doing here is they're just kind of like turning those into rocky things and these into rocky things and then the knee in between. Smart. Makes sense. Don't mind me always gushing over weird anatomy, things like that. I appreciate always. Okay, so yeah, let's zoom out and see. Like, yeah, so if we don't even, if it just alludes to the rest of the leg, I think that is okay. So we'll never see anything more than that. We'll just see. So we're pretending essentially it's like way back here and we just don't see it. We'll see how it looks with the other leg blocked in then too, I guess. And if we need to adjust. So right now this leg would be technically more up front. So that's why I was kind of like sculpting this little fold in here so that it's the crotch is actually like pulling towards us here, which obviously isn't like a crazy necessary thing, but it just kind of helps sell the perspective of the fold of the pant. Make sure this curve is, again, since it's going away from us, right? If it's going away from us in this instance, the curve would be like this, right? Because it's receding this curve. Whereas if it was going the other way, right, like if it was coming towards us, we would want that curve of the crotch down here to do that. But it's going away from us, so selling it with that little bit of perspective. Oh, big eraser. Little things like that, I just always make note of because I feel like sometimes when I was drawing when I was younger, I didn't keep track of the perspective of things, right? And like the true angle, and it's like those little details that help really sell exactly what you're drawing. But they're the things that, like, for me, once you get used to things, you kind of don't even think about. You just are like, oh yeah, this makes sense. It's going this angle. But it's not really communicated. And I feel like when I was younger, I never really, like, things looked good for other people and looked bad for me. And I never understood why. And one of the reasons was the design of the outfits or the anatomy or different things didn't follow the perspective and the proportions that I was already establishing with the other parts of the drawing. So I always like to make note of that on stream then, just because I never heard people talk about that enough. So I talk about it too much then. Okay, so there is the crotch coming towards us. He has no real, oh, he's got like a different, technically, like there's a, as we see on his leg, it goes blue on the left side of his right leg. So technically there's like a little bit of variation of color. But here's a prime example of, I don't want to draw that leg at all. Like, do we draw any detail on it? Because it's coming towards us, right? We've got the folds. Do we need more than that, right? Sometimes less is more. Do I need to draw more of his leg, or do I just draw this little, like, detail here that's going to be black to separate the black and the blue? If anything, always look at the tangents of where things intersect. And so even though this might not be right, I guess I'm redoing this thumb, so it might not matter. But I guess I'll just keep an eye out when I draw the rest of the, when I redraw that hand, I kind of just want to make sure that I don't, like what I'm doing here doesn't happen. This intersection is like weird, this point right here, because it's two different colors and two different lines that are meeting at the exact same point, which is ugly. And we do not want. But again, if I'm redoing the hand entirely, I don't need to like overthink it right now. I'm just trying to figure out where this color break would be, because it goes with these little black stripes and then goes to the, that's the differentiator between the white of their outfit and the blue. So that's fine. Yeah. And then, because really you wouldn't, it's hard because at this point, the pant leg, depending on what angle it's going, it could be like up here, right? If it's coming towards us. But I don't know if that, is necessary, right? It's in a weird spot right now where the hand is. So I don't, that's a tough one. I don't know where you, giving information versus not giving information. So I wonder, let's just, this hand is dumb, right? Do we all agree this hand is dumb? Yes. Cool. Agreed. Goodbye, hand. Stupid hand. Let's reassess this space now that we've got a better understanding of the overall pose. So I don't mind. So the silhouette overall, I feel like reads pretty well now, right? Like the differentiator between this arm and the leg. I like this negative space here. His head obviously is going to be like crunched in like it is, because so there'd be no silhouette variation for the head. Curve. The pec just was looking weird to me. And it is important because again, the way the rock will form around the pec is actually like sticking out. So that's why I wanted to make sure. I'm still finagling this a little bit. Part of it too, maybe his head that I drew up here needs to get a little smaller. Because it's jutting out a little too far from the side, right? I almost want his head tinier, which I normally don't like to do, but his body is so massive that I feel like making his head even smaller helps sell that. But I don't want, it's a fine line in going too tiny of a head, and then you get that 90s Goomba energy of the Mario movie, which is not at all what we want. I don't know. I like the slight tilt of his head. Just a little bit more, maybe. I don't know, just a tiny bit smaller, a little bit more forward, a little bit rotated. Just to really accentuate how big his body is compared to the rest. You know, like his proportions are just bonkers, right? I'm trying to think of where light would be coming from. I kind of want light in this instance to be coming from up here. So a lot of like the shadow would be all along this way. Just trying to, because when I have sketchiness, I like to kind of imagine this because it helps sell where where you put detail and how you focus. So like if I'm going to be drawing the forearm and stuff now, I'm thinking what's going to be in shadow too. Like, so this all stuff is in shadow, and then that would dictate how the rest of the arm would look too. So completely unnecessary, but like it's just one of the little quirks that I have of understanding the space. And then putting this in shadow will help. Even though we made it smaller, if we have like a good heavy shadow beside it, it should help it pop more. This obviously looks really stupid right now because it's just me half-assing shadow on there in the sketch. But yeah, I'm actually going to erase it now just because that looks really bad. I overdid it. Normally I would drop the opacity on the pencil so it just looks, yeah. Anyway, let me look at this hand. What are we looking at here? Hands, hands, hands today. Why are you giving me so much grief? So this hand is still being weird, and I don't know how to resolve it. So I wonder, okay, so I'm going to change the arm instead of the hand. Let's try that, okay? Because if I can't, this hand position, I like the position of the orientation of that hand, the way it's coming angled towards us. So instead of trying to reinvent the hand to fit it, let's put the hand where I want it and shape the arm maybe around where I want that, which is kind of a weird way of working, but it's fine. I won't tell anybody if you don't. Okay, easy enough. It's our little secret that I'm working backwards in a broken way. But so if his arm is now like this, it is weird when you, one thing too, when talking about like younger version of myself versus now, like the amount I just completely erase stuff is all the time. Like I do it all the time where I'm like, this is dumb, it's gone. And I just straight up erase it. Whereas like when I was younger, I was always like, but I took time to draw the thing. Nope, done, erase it, gone. I don't care, make it better. Like the more you do it, the better it'll probably look anyway. Stop hee-hawing. I'd be like, but I thought this part, no, just erase it, try again, do and do again. Like even with my commercial and like the studio work, when I'm doing the 3D work, like there's been a couple times, not a couple, unfortunately, a lot of times, right, where you're working, and especially with my 3D software, right, boom, gone, crashed, stuff is gone. Where to go? I don't know, not there. Like it's just straight lost. And that sucks, but it also, then instead of trying to recover it, right, so that's one of the things that I've learned too with 3D work, half the time, or any work, frankly, like I would lose work and be so butthurt and upset about it that I would sit there and try and figure out like, well, maybe I can recover the file by doing this or doing that. If you try and recover the file and it didn't work in the first like 30 seconds, done. That's too much time already, right? 30 seconds of trying to find this file, unless it's like a metric poop ton of work. Obviously, there's always a level of, what is important and what is not. But like, in my experience, 9 times out of 10, it was better just to say, screw it, let me just redo it, right? You did it once. If anything, when you do it now, you'll probably do it better. And you for sure will do it quicker. So instead of trying to recover a file for like 20 minutes or half hour, why not spend 15 minutes and redo the work that was lost in between there? Because it'll be better anyway. Again, obviously, that's a bold statement and not always correct, but I found that to be true more often than not in my own personal experience and work. This silhouette just feels weird, so I'm trying to figure out, like, I don't like that this is super soft. I'm just trying to make, like, one craggy bit that sticks out that feels right, but I'm having a hard time with it for some reason. Like, everything feels a little inorganic. We talked about that, where like sometimes to make things look organic versus making them look real is kind of a balancing act. And we are seeing it firsthand with this weird little bit here. I don't know, man. Whatever. If I ink this, it'll resolve itself usually. No point in hee-hawing over it. My brain usually fixes it after the fact, which is pretty common. It's just like, oh yeah, I fixed it when I inked it. And if I didn't, oh well, we'll look at it again later. So I kind of want like one big craggy piece in this shoulder. I know I said I was doing the hand, but I keep jumping. That's one thing that like helps my brain a lot and helps you from getting stuck on certain pieces, right? Just jump. Don't stop focusing on things, like I said, with the other piece of like, don't keep hammering over one thing. Easier said than done, because if you watch my stream, you'll see me do that 10 times. Too many. But sometimes it's, if you can, let yourself disconnect, go to a different piece, bounce around, come back, do it again, But again, I understand that is easier said than done, as I don't follow that rule myself all the time. Okay, doesn't matter. Anyway, like we were saying with his hand, right? Let's reassess here. So the forearm, gone, goodbye, entirely, right? So if we're thinking of this shape, his shoulder, as we established, is here, right? This whole bit here, this is shoulder. So we've got curve here. The tricep is back here. Brachialis doesn't matter. Then the bicep is coming. So how do we make this fit with a forearm that's kind of curved coming towards us then? So let's see if we really change the arc of the bicep a little bit, maybe. So it's being pulled backwards more. Nope. That seems strange to me. I feel like to get this, we need the forearm right here to be pretty prominent, because that would imply this forced perspective, this shoom, that strong curve there implies that it's really coming towards us. I think what'll help that too is make this kind of connect with the rest of the hand, that it's curving around that space. And then to play with that, we really mess with this curve too, that it's really getting warped. And this one would not line up necessarily exactly with the hand, because it would be... Everyone forgets, I feel like, that the hand is like a weird square that exists off of the arm. And so, like, if one side of the hand is flush with the arm, the other side of the hand is probably jutting out in a weirdo spot, because that's just the shape of our hands. But okay, so that forearm to me makes sense to go with that hand, because I like the way that hand is angled. If anything, this knuckle should be down too. Should be more here. Should be bigger like that. Okay. Anyway, so if that's the forearm, how do we resolve this part up here that we established with the shoulder in the bicep and tricep area, right? So let's erase the tricep here and kind of reassess the shoulder too, maybe. It's funny, I keep calling it bicep, tricep, shoulder, and like when you look at him, he rock. What does he look like? He rock. Like, yes, there's definition, but I'm sure I could have fudged it pretty easily without anybody knowing. But so I want like that big curve still for the bicep. And then do we follow like this then? So yeah, let's see if we can follow that. And then maybe we pull the tricep back even further. That looks weird. But I like the idea of like this continuing a full curve from like hand to wrist to forearm to elbow, right? It just flows better. So I wonder, so we're not doing anything like drastically different than the initial sketch, but it's just enough. That's why sometimes, like I said, you need to just delete it, right? Stop trying to finesse it, because this is pretty similar to what I drew. I'm not ignorant to that fact, but it's just different enough that had I tried to finagle it, it just wouldn't have worked. It would not have worked, because I'd keep trying to work with what was there. And even if it's just 15% different, sometimes that's super hard to do with what's already there. So just erase it. Just erase the whole damn thing. And like here, I don't, like, you wouldn't even see elbow. So I get rid of that again. And maybe it would be flush. Like I like it flush, but like flush in terms of energy, not in terms of exact. So maybe if we do like a little indent here, that helps sell that it's coming towards us too, right? That forearm a little bit more, because it's overlapping where the back of the tricep connecting to the elbow region, right? So if this like tricep like this, obviously this is not usually necessary, but since we're drawing the rocks kind of in the same formation of his muscle groups, I figured it makes sense to kind of block in. Like, so this is where the tricep would be. They don't really accentuate the brachialis. So the brachialis is like what connects between your bicep and your tricep. It's right in the middle there. They don't really seem to accentuate that in his design here. It looks like it's basically just bicep into tricep, which is not uncommon, especially for like the bigger characters like this and more graphic, you know, like stylization. Like you don't need to do too much. There is a connection point, so I would draw like maybe 1 or 2 small rocks here and then a couple big ones, but it's not like overly accentuated, so I don't need to do more than that. And then here we'll kind of like curve these rocks so that it feels like it's like the outline of this bicep then, right? So if we kind of make it feel like it's rounded along with it, maybe that'll sell the shape a wee bit more. Again, I don't know if I've ever drawn a man made of rock before, so this is, we're all hanging on the seat of our pants here trying to figure out what that would look like. But I know I wanted to draw him. And I did not feel like drawing like a pretty female. I wanted my Ben Grimm. Holy cow, yeah, I'm gonna need to take some more ibuprofen soon. This wrist is, it's weird. So when I'm drawing, right, your wrist is in a relatively neutral spot, but then every time I extend this way, right, I bend it this way, it's just a sharp pain. So it's a hard, I'm like trying to like adjust my brain of like, don't do that, right? Easier said than done when you're drawing. All of a sudden you just like, oh, I need to do this, I need to do this. But yeah. So I think one thing now that we established where the arm is, the shoulder, I want to come up a little higher so that these like craggy bits that are sticking out would actually start up here. Nothing crazy different, but just like a little bit up more to sell the movement of this arm, that the shoulder is kind of a little bit higher up. So that makes more sense for where the bicep is, right? So again, that was a weird way of doing it, but I talk about all the time that if you can't solve point B, right, or C or D or whatever point you're looking at that you're stuck on, if you can't solve that, go backwards, right? If you're stuck, like what I was doing here, right? This hand did not look right. Couldn't get it. I don't know why the perspective kept looking off. But I liked the hand perspective itself, but it didn't vibe with the rest. So what do? Don't keep beating your head against the wall and try and fix the hand, right? That's not going to work because the hand's not actually the problem. Look at the step before it. And in this instance, it's the arm, right? Like what can we actually do to the arm to fix it rather than try and fix the hand? So always be aware that you need to sometimes look backwards. And it seems silly to change sometimes. Like, wow, I'm going to change the whole arm just to account for the new perspective that I want for the hand. Yeah, do it. Who's stopping you? Why would you not? Does it work? Sure. Why do I care if it works then? Like, it's always a weird balance there. But okay. So he actually has pretty big. I need to maybe like when I ink it more, draw bigger pieces. Like I'm drawing a lot of like nitty gritty little rocks, I feel like, whereas like his are pretty graphic, like pretty huge, right? So there's an example of I should make sure these curve around his form a little bit better. Otherwise they're not going to help. It just distracts. So this is an interesting exercise of using rocks and his, it's almost like every bit of rock is part of clothing. And when you draw clothing, like I said, like the crotch I talked about and stuff, you need to make sure it's in the right angle and the right perspective. Otherwise, it'll kind of throw the whole thing off without knowing why. That's kind of, unfortunately, every single rock on his body, where it's like if the perspective doesn't make sense, if it doesn't curve properly with the rest of that musculature, it's going to look kind of weird. It's funny, we've warped this hand so many times. It's like if you look, it's so blurry. That's okay. Sketch face can be as blurry as we want it to be. That said, I do kind of, I'm looking how they do make his thumb, like that knuckle on his thumb, massive. Oh, that's an eraser. Really, it's clobbering time, right? That's his thing. Clobbering time. He's throwing hands. He's a punch you in the face. Like Hulk's gonna jump around. Hulk's gonna bop you. He's gonna clap. He's gonna do all these things. The thing's gonna punch you in the head, right? That's the difference. He gonna punch you, and you deal with it. And so I think that's something we need to kind of just a little bit. I'm not overdoing it, but I feel like maybe giving him that extra little bit of just a little bit larger of that knuckle helps sell that fist just a little more. Man, stinking Marvel Rivals. Like I said, in terms of putting too much time in and I get distracted playing this damn game, I don't know about you guys, but my ranked experience has been rough. I was like a hair away. Oh, that's too big now. A hair away from Grandmaster. That was just my goal this season. Just getting Grandmaster. Hair away. Diamond 1, almost there. And then I just pooped the bed, right? My games just started sucking. I started losing way too much. The teams I was getting weren't communicating. And if you're not communicating, it's a really hard game to win. Like, if no one's talking, you can't course correct. You can't call things out. You don't know what's happening, right? And I got like game after game of nobody communicating. And I'm not blaming it on other people, right? Like, at the end of the day, it's still your gameplay. But man, oh man, I dropped all the way to Diamond 3, which is like going really, really far for perspective for those that don't actually play the game. And I was just like, oh my God, I tasted it, right? I tasted the goal that I had set for myself. It was right there. And then it was gone. Like, now I'm so far and the season ends Thursday night and gets reset that I'm like, well, I guess not reset, but same difference. Yeah, the losers queue. I know that's kind of the vibe. Yeah, unfortunately. And it's weird with matchmaking because really there's no, I don't know, like working in game dev, like I know there's a lot of things we do behind the scenes, but there's also a lot of things that are interpreted as something that's not, right? Like, I don't know if there actually is a losers queue, right? Like when we worked with matchmaking, we didn't have that in our fight. Worked at like Enway with fighting games and stuff. There was no such thing, but it feels like it, right? Like especially competitive games like that. Like it always feels like you're thrown into like a winners or a losers queue, and it's frustrating and it's hard sometimes to like. Sometimes you just need to turn off the game. Then I'm like, I'm just mentally not here, right? And it doesn't help that I've actually had quite a bit of personal, like I've got a lot of family stuff going on that's been a little heavy. And like if you're mentally exhausted in other ways, and then the game itself is just kind of slapping you across the face, you're like, I think I need to turn this off. Like I need to know when to call it. I think this is time for me to be done. Which I've said that about my art too sometimes. And then I still just keep noodling and then it looks like doo-doo. As I've kind of doing with this hand right now. But I don't know. I liked this hand. Now suddenly I hate it. What did I do? What did I do wrong? Where did I go wrong? Man, speaking of mentioning fighting games then with Enway and stuff that we've worked on, and then you mentioning League of Legends, you presumably, NitroCat, then are a League of Legends player, right? I personally can't get into MOBAs. I tried to get into, like, what was it? Tried to get into Dota way back when in college. I tried to play a little league. A little league. MOBAs just aren't my forte per se. However, I love the source material, right? As an artist, all of the League of Legends content is amazing. I love seeing all of the splash art, all of the costumes, all of these things, right? Obviously, Arcane was fantastic. I'm yet to finish it because I'm the worst at watching television. We just take a long time to consume stuff here at this house. And so I'm slow on the uptick there. But as a fighting game person, so I don't know if you notice behind me, I've got like my Marvel vs. Capcom arcade cabinet there. And all on my shelves, all on the walls, I've got like Street Fighter, Tekken, King of Fighters, all those kind of things, right? And up there's my bodybuilding shelf with like Goro from Mortal Kombat and Zangief. I'm really looking forward to 2XKO. That's where this long-winded rant is getting at. That 2XKO is coming out, right? And that, for if those that don't know, it is a fighting game with the League of Legends IP. So it is, in my mind, going to print money, is what my thought is. That like, that game's gotta do well, but it's also such a weird idea that League of Legends is a very distinct type of game, right? A MOBA is a very distinct game versus a fighting game, right? Like, I've played fighting games my whole life. They are very different than other types of games for many reasons. And I'm not saying like one is better or worse, but the moment to moment gameplay and the way you play, the way you learn, and the way you get better in fighting games are a little different than traditional video games. Because like you're learning more specific frame data, you're learning everybody's counters, you're learning a lot more in a different way. Like obviously you learn all of those things in MOBAs and in even Marvel Rivals and stuff. But it's, I don't know how to explain it. It's, oh no, no sufficient space to continue recording. Crap. So I totally forgot. This was on me. Shoot. Damn it. My hard drive is full and I like to record all of my streams, right? So I can reference them for other things and stuff like that. I completely forgot that my hard drive was full on Monday. And I, like I said, had a lot of personal stuff going on lately with my family that I just spaced on it. And I was like, hey, I need to transfer a bunch of that stuff and offload some of the hard drive stuff. And so I'll be good for Wednesday. Guess what I didn't do? Apparently, I completely forgot that. So good thing this is going on Twitch and then being archived on YouTube, because this is not being recorded on my end, unfortunately, today. Anyway, not only am I an idiot for forgetting that, but it doesn't. I wonder if I start putting these rocky things on, that'll help. So the rocky bits, he's got like each knuckle, if we look, right, is like a giant rock. So I wonder if we start blocking in some of the rockiness, it'll help, because the hand right now exists in a space void of all these other lines. So it stands out in such a way that makes it feel off, even if I had it looking good. But anyway, League of Legends, right? For the 2XKO, it's made by like industry vets, right? They've worked on a lot of great games before, big fighting games, Amaj and Obama and a couple other guys that are like big names, right? So they know what they're doing. And I've played the Alpha Lab so far when it came out a long while back. And I'm stoked for it. Like, that fighting game looks absolutely amazing to me. And from a visual perspective, Marvel Rivals, like, my whole plan right now is I've been starting to work on more video editing to rebrand my YouTube page and do more of like art breakdowns and stuff, right? And I'm going to do that with Marvel Rivals for sure. But I also would love to then be able to like transfer and do for League of Legends stuff with 2XKO and do all that kind of stuff, because it's just visually gorgeous, right? Like I absolutely love and appreciate the art. But again, where I was getting at is I would be very curious to see the metrics, right? If there was some way to see that, like, hey, of the people who play League of Legends, right? Which is a lot of people, lot of people. It's a huge game, right? How many are excited for 2XKO, right? Like, is that a thing that people are actively like in the scene stoked for? Do they even know about it? Is it more of a fighting game thing that like all of us fighting game nerds are hoping it'll attract all the 2X or all the League people and it'll be like a really big successful game? I don't know. It's always weird, the idea of like being a fly on the wall and understanding bigger pictures of things, but also in instances like this, like, who knows? And obviously no one will know until the game finally comes out, but I am very curious to see where that will land, in the end, because I personally am stoked for it. No release date, no information still. There's going to be a new test soon. They said they'd give us more information and another test later. But Yeah, absolutely gorgeous game, and I would love to see it find success, right? And see more fighting games like that find success. I don't know if that made the hand better or worse. It honestly just made it more like ambiguous and confusing looking, not gonna lie. Because there's more just shit going on here now. I can't believe I forgot to clear my hard drive. What a dingus. I'm assuming everything streams fine, right? Like we're still getting this content. Everyone sees it. It's not like it needs to be saved. Yeah, obviously it's still coming through. I've never really had it fully cap out like that. So I don't know what the move is. But anyway, that was dumb. I'll fix that. Hopefully tonight or tomorrow then. But tomorrow's also gonna likely be a busy day with some family medical things too. But anyway, there's a fist. Am I right? Let's see. What else can we do with this? So let's just cut this in a little bit more so it sticks out. Because right now it's getting kind of lost with all of the detail now. So if we kind of crunch and give this little bit of negative space right here, maybe that'll help sell what's going on. Because with all the rocky texture, it gets kind of lost. I haven't played a fighter since Tekken. Oh, wow. I've heard good things about the Riot Fighter. I've just been grinding League of Legends. Since season 1? I don't... What season is it on now? Like, I'm that disconnected that I don't even know. Like, I'd imagine it's... I don't even know what season that sucker's on. Like, that game has become like an institution of how long it's been here. So I don't even know. Like, 15. Yikes. How long is a season? Is a season like just a couple months, or is it like a 6 month period or something? Like, because I feel like certain game seasons can range from like 2 months to a year, Either way, even if it was like 3 months, 15 seasons is a long time. And it's impressive it's a whole year, but they have splits. Okay. Damn. That's a long time, my friend. That is, I know, like, so I've been playing Fortnite since when it was in beta form, like not beta form, but like before Battle Royale, right? Like before even that was introduced. I was super stoked for Fortnite when it was just a tower defense game, and getting into the tests for that. But like, so that's my nearest correlation. Like, I still play Fortnite, not like as intensely, but my buddies and I still love booting up Fortnite and seeing all the nonsense that they're doing in that. And that's, I think, running 8 years, not quite 15. So that is, I don't know if that's insanity or commitment. What do you think? Either way, that's a long ass time. But it's hard with games like that. Like when they're so good and they become like vested in your life, right? Like, I don't know. It's hard to break from playing them because it becomes like integral to kind of like what you do, And it's hard. I feel like it's one of those things that, like, I don't know. Both for sure. Yeah. It's one thing that I feel like as gamers, we have like a different understanding of how, we interpret our time and how we play things, obviously. But it's like, it's so skewed that like, I don't like it. Like the logic people have sometimes when they're like, oh my God, you've been playing that game for how long or doing that for how long of your life? And I'm like, cool, how long have you been a Chicago Bears fan and you watch their same games every, Sunday for the past 30 years? You know what I mean? Like, why are games treated somehow differently than other sources of media and you know what I mean? Like hobbies like that. Like, why is it any different? Like, that's a long ass time. And if anything, it does show like, hey, I'm committed to this thing. I really like it. And it's part of who I am, like that's what I do. And so I don't know. That's a random tangent I have of how, yeah, people just, the understanding of gaming culture is so skewed with people who don't understand it. And being, in my mid 30s now, I definitely have seen the full gamut. Like it's a lot better now, like so much better now. Gaming culture, well, I mean, not gaming culture as a whole, but like gaming itself has gotten larger, right? when I was little and I had my Sega or my Nintendo and I'd be playing that all the time and stuff like that, like that energy was very different. And the understanding of video games was very different back then, for better or for worse. So now more people understand video games, but then it also is almost a little bit of information can make something worse, right? I was talking about this the other day where like sometimes the worst human, right, is someone with a big ego and a little bit of information, right? Because if you know just enough to kind of skate by, but you've got a big ego or you've got strong opinions on a thing, it's like so toxic because you don't actually understand it, but you're so ingrained. There's a video of ESPN boomers having the viewership and sponsor revenue numbers broken down for them on the league pro scene. And I'm sure they were boggled then because people don't grasp like how big the gaming scene has become from like a viewership perspective and a sponsorship perspective and all these things that like, yeah, even do like the fact that I'm right now, like, so I've worked in games since 2017, right? I don't want to do that right now. The games industry is an absolute garbage fire. It sucks right now. Like their studio is being shut down. Even the media reception of how they're being handled is completely warped. All these things, right? And the industry is just garbage. I don't want to be doing that right now. I don't want to work on games. I want to appreciate the games, and that's why I've shifted gears this year now, and I've been streaming regularly, and I've been trying to get this kind of stuff out, and I'm going to be, I've been working on learning new video editing stuff and doing that because I want to make game content now. I want to make game content on like I said, art breakdowns, style breakdowns, lore comparisons of where the things came from and stuff like that. But it's that idea too, where it's like, people don't understand that like doing something like that is a job in its own right now. Like you can do that as a career if obviously it takes time and, luck and effort. But like every time I stream and do these kind of things, unfortunately, like family and boomers and that kind of nature, it's seen as like, oh, that's a nice little hobby. And it's like, well, no, it's actually like, I have a master's degree in animation. I've worked in games for almost 10 years. I have a good understanding of what I'm doing. And so when I can make videos and communicate this or stream or do these kind of things, like it's not just drawing. It's not just this or that. And I feel like that's a common thing with everything with how we consume media and play games and all these things where it's like certain generations and certain understandings of how the world work just are not as understood by certain groups of individuals, I guess, to put it simply. That said, 15 years of League of Legends, you crazy, man. That's a lot. Honestly, I'm always curious then with games like this, right? Like I love playing Rivals. I love it. But it always makes you wonder like what's the longevity? Like does this have the legs to last for 15 years too? Like League is one of the few, World of Warcraft and other things like that too also exist. I'm not saying they don't, or the fact that people still play Team Fortress and all that. Like I'm not saying no games stand the test of time, but usually the games that stand the test of time are not licensed games like this. And so that's where it gets me kind of curious because like it was their own license, right? Like League of Legends was their own, right? World of Warcraft was Blizzard's own. Like these are their own like core IP that they're working with that then they have like the ability to keep going and they can nourish it the way they want. When you're working with an IP like this, that's a whole different ballgame then, right? So the game can be doing great, but it's not always up to that, right? Like what if something happens with Disney or how they're handling Marvel license or their decision on how they want to work with video games in general anymore or stuff like that. Like there are so many other outside factors when it comes to licensed properties like this that it becomes even more of a question then of like, well, what does the longevity for something like that mean? Because suddenly that's a whole other ballgame than something, owned by the studio. This is essentially I don't know the agreement, obviously, with Marvel and NetEase here, but like, they don't own it. NetEase doesn't own Marvel content. They're either paying for it, or there's like a licensing fee to use the license, or there's some sort of agreement with Marvel where it's like a profit sharing, a profit split thing. Who knows? You're right. I don't know the numbers. All I know is, unfortunately, if history's shown us anything, the games with the longest lifespan are usually ones that have their own IP, right? Look at the easiest comparison here too with Overwatch, right? Like Overwatch still exists, which is a whole other ball game of questions of what's going on with that game because of Marvel Rivals causing it to really flounder and try and like pull whatever it can out of the hat to be relevant again. Some things to be said about it. It's its own IP though. They don't answer to anyone, right? Nobody. They don't answer to anybody. They answer to themselves. Obviously, they're shareholders and the market itself dictates things, but like very different than NetEase, who at the end of the day answers to Marvel, right? Or Papa Disney, big old Papa Disney. And so it's just, I don't know. It's weird. It's a weird thought how we consume media and consume things that we become so vested in for upwards of 15 years that like at the end of the day, we have no control of it staying around. Like multiverses, like I loved multiverses, but that's another prime example. Loved being the operative word there because it got really crappy when it went down and then came back. I hated the way it came back. But that was all WB's doing, right? WB had their hand in it and they controlled what happened, and now it doesn't exist, right? Now it's shut down. Well, it's not shut down yet, I think, but it's going to be shut down. And it's just, I don't know, man. Media is so weird nowadays that like, I mean, obviously it's not just video games. Look at how often Netflix cancels crap and does stuff like that. Like, it's hard to get attached to things when you don't have control over how long they'll even be there, which is a weird kind of morbid thought, to be honest. Obviously, you could say that about life and, our lives are, but that's a deeper tangent. But anyway, I'm drawing a dude made of rocks. I don't need to get deeper than that right now. Let me just draw some bony muscles. Rocky muscles, not bony. That sounds gross. Rocky muscles. Yeah, so I'm still now just thinking of his his hand. And I keep looking, so I look on my other monitor because that's where the stream feed is. It's a smaller image, so I don't have to zoom out. So like normally I do this, right? Look at it really little. But then on stream, I feel like it looks really little, like way too little. So I don't like doing that. But luckily I can just kind of keep it normal and then look over there and take a peek, which is a lot easier for me. I like doing that. But then I look like a weirdo, like it looks like I'm like reading some crap. Yeah, I don't know. And when I zoom and look in, little things like this too are catching my eye. That like his pec here, I kind of want this one to overlap a little better, and this one will be very, like this is his right side is more dominant, right? It's sticking out a little stronger, and then we'll see the left behind it. Yeah, that's a lot better. Oh. My iPad is old, and so a lot of times I'll switch between eraser and pencil. Like functionally, I'll change it, or I'll double tap and do different things like that. But it doesn't actually do it. So you'll see a lot of times all of a sudden I'll just erase something blindly when it was clearly meant to be a brush stroke. And I'm just like, well, whoopsies. Old iPad problems. But it's weird since, like I said, I own a very nice, I've got my Intuos, which is a drawing tablet. Like you draw, just imagine like you're drawing like a giant mouse pad you draw on that then is interpreted on the screen. Or I've got two different Cintiqs. I've got my old Cintiq that when I went and got my master's degree, I got like, or right after my master's, I got that one. So that was a billion years ago. But, and then I have the really nice new one, the QHD. And so like, these are all like nice, high quality drawing surfaces and tools. But it's just comical because then I'm in here being like, well, I got this old iPad I'm drawing on my old iPad, but it's hard to justify wanting to buy a new one then if like it gets the job done, right? Like I'm always a sucker with that where it's like I don't want to get a new thing until it doesn't get the job done anymore, right? His iPad clearly is getting the job done. You can't see it because it doesn't convey there, but like there's also like slightly broken lines, vertical lines all throughout the iPad. Like it's this the screen's kind of pooping out. It's like rainbow lines up and down, which was distracting at first and more distracting in certain lighting. But I've gotten over that. iPads are expensive, man. I don't want to spend $1,500 on a new iPad and then the new Apple Pencil. And then I would need to get a new attachment for the sketchboard so it can fit into this properly. And then if I want to get another set of, I use my paper-like screen protectors to give the little gritty texture. And then, like the list just goes on. So even if you spend $1,500 on an iPad, all of a sudden you're getting like $500 extra on all the pencil, the case, the screen protector, the new attachment for my sketchboard, like all these things. And you're like, holy crap. I did not come here wanting to spend that money. It's like whenever you bring your car to like, I'm just going for an oil change. Like, cool, we changed your oil. We also found that you can spend $3,000 right now and we'll do this, this, and this. I'm like, yeah, man, I wanted my oil change. Thank you. I understand my car might need those things right now, but I did not come here to spend $3,000. I came here to spend $50 and get an oil change. So in my blockiness, I'm trying to like realize that like I want to kind of curve. Again, if I'm going to ink this later, it doesn't super matter, but it just helps sell the idea for me that like I want to make sure these rocky bits behind him are actually conscious, right? You're not just throwing them in, that they have movement that help accentuate the actual shape of the character and the movement of the muscle behind it, rather than just like, because some of these are very on his back. All of a sudden his back was feeling like it wasn't moving in the same perspective that I wanted. So I'm trying to like curve some of these in such a way that it feels like it's actually a big back that, like I said, instead of doing like little squares like this always where they curve this way, I'm literally just making sure that like, imagine like shingles on a roof, right? When you see them, they're doing this, right? Just like the cedar shaker roof, like the shingles, they're doing this because they're going backwards. And so it's that same perspective here as I'm just kind of doing that on the rocks on his back a little bit, just so that they feel like they're receding and coming, like receding back, but also coming towards us in this perspective. To feel more like it's his back rather than just a ball of rocks on his, behind his head. Like, forgot how like this was messy his head. Holy crap, I just got lines all over here. I focused on the face and then I didn't even draw anything here. So let's get a couple of these rocks blocked in too, just for the sake of, like I said, things looking a little, things are looking a little weird when it doesn't have detail, when everything else does. Good enough. Obviously some of these lines are way too thick. Yeah, that's not bad. I'm really gonna, when I color, if I add color then, or the line work, I really need to make note when I'm doing this that like this head is going to, that's the struggle right now I'm foreseeing, is making sure that head stands out. Because like looking at this right now, his head is getting kind of lost, right? So I definitely, when I do later work, I need to make sure I clean and tighten that up. But another piece of chocolate. What time is it? It's 1:15. That's chocolate time. So normally I keep my streams lately been 10:30 to 1:30, Monday, Wednesday, Friday for art stuff. But I'm thinking of swapping it. So I'm thinking of maybe going Tuesdays and Thursdays instead. and then making them longer. So instead of just the 3 hours, I don't have stuff set up on my Twitch yet. I keep not forgetting, I just haven't had time to. I just got a mobile notification. Thank you for the follow, Nitro Cat. I'm glad you're sticking around. I need to set up those kind of notifications because I haven't yet. But anyway, excuse me. The schedule that I was talking about, I kind of want to stream longer, right? So the idea is I want to do like 8 to 10 hours a week of streaming. And so I originally did 2 hours Monday through Friday, every morning, 10:30 to 12:30. And I felt like the streams weren't long enough to be productive, right? So I was like, well, what if I change it and we do 3 days a week, 10:30 to 1:30. And while this has worked, I kind of like doing longer 4-hour streams or longer, right? And so I'm thinking what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch maybe next week and do Tuesday, Thursday, 10:30 till maybe like 2:30 or 3 o'clock. Just 2 days a week. And that'll give me more time to actually get the ball rolling on the YouTube content I wanted to make of both my instructional art page and then my my rebrand of my old page that was just like a stupid Let's Play is all I ever did. But now I wanted to, like I said, do art breakdowns and stuff. Like my first video I've been working on is like it's called Lore and Design on Marvel Rivals stuff that I wanted to do in particular at first. So it's a breakdown of like where do these skins, right? Because we've got so many cool, unique skins in this game. Where do the skins come from, right? Like what is the comic book reference? What is the story behind it? Why do they exist the way they do? What do they look like in the comic book iterations? And then look at what do they look like in the game, right? Like take a look at all the cosmetics we're given and then kind of compare those two things, right? And see like, oh, well, they clearly pulled reference from this or did this, or you know what I mean? Like design motifs and different shape language maybe they keep or colors and stuff. And kind of break that stuff down. But to do all these things that I want to do on YouTube, I don't have the time to do it if I'm streaming 3 days a week then. And then life, right? Life gets in the way with everything. Even just basic life stuff of cooking and cleaning. Like I said, I'm a big fitness person. So like I like to cook and have very healthy food all around, right? Like I've got my chicken all the time. I've got my chicken, rice, and broccoli. Real boring, but it works. But just life gets in the way. And so Monday, Wednesday, Friday, although I like streaming more often, I think right now I'm going to adjust it and do 2 days a week. So, but it is hard because now one of the medical things with my family, that individual, my grandmother, she's going to have appointments Tuesdays and Thursdays, but it's not super consistent every week. So I think I can still fudge it. And then if I need to adjust 1 week to, Thursday becomes Wednesday or something, I can do that, right? No problem. But yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do. So I have more time on Monday, Wednesday, Friday to actually do more of the content I want to get out there. And then still keep up almost the same amount of time for streaming then, right? Because if I keep limiting how many days I stream, but I make each stream longer, that works, right? That tips the scales. I like to think it does. If it doesn't, oh well. But yeah, so it's one of those stupid things, as lame as that is, like all my on Blue Sky and Instagram and Reddit and all these things. That means I'm like, crap, I have to redo my schedule everywhere. But yeah, that's what I'm thinking. And I've been working on my Discord now too. I've been working on building a server because, like I said, I want to do more educational stuff too. Like have 2 different pages. One be more informational in terms of like learning art techniques and different things like that. And then have the other one be more appreciating art, not learning it, and going over designs and games and breakdowns and comparisons and stuff like that from, a game artist's perspective. Then I feel like you know, working in games since 2017 and having a master's in animation and doing all the things I do, I have a little bit more of a perspective on things than other people when from a creative perspective. And so I love the idea of doing both of those things, but they take more time than I realized. Video editing is very different. Like, so I've done motion graphics before. So there's one company I worked for a while that did casino games. Ick. Straight up ick, by the way. Gross. Casino games are dirty. Like, I'm sorry if you like casino games, but like, man, we were talking earlier about like matchmaking information, right? And like the fact that we're not privy to the details of how games are match made and these kind of things, right? You want to know creepy and gross, try playing casino games in a company where you have access to a test bed of like 30, not 30, but like a poop ton of machines as if you're in a casino. And like I test them, right? So like I was doing the art for the stuff and you want to see what it looks like on screen, how it interacts, how the engineering's coding it properly. But sometimes you'd be like, oh, I'll try and get it naturally, which means like I didn't use a cheat code for it. Like, will it naturally occur? Holy effing farts, sitting in the test bed and realizing that like every button you push, right, is like $2 or something. Like whatever it is set to, right? Like dollar. Sometimes to get the higher ones, you have to be at like a $5 bet or something like that. And it's like, holy absolute fart balls. I just spent $2,000 and it never even happened. The thing I was trying to test. Like $2,000, fake dollars, obviously, because I'm just hitting a button in the test. But like, oh, that was sad in my mind. That kind of logic, that was rough. And also, casino games are very like kind of racist and sexist in how they handle things, which is also extremely disheartening, and I hated doing. So working on actual video games was a lot more fun. I like Power Rangers. I like robots. I like fighting games. I like, I got to work with the Olympics. I worked, stuff like that. That was a lot better. I don't know how that tangent happened, actually, but, casino games, gross. Yeah, when you talk as much as I do, sometimes you forget what the hell your point of conversation even was. You're like, well, anyway. Almost want this peck to feel even bigger to kind of play with the perspective more. Like, what if it, yeah. So it's almost like his head's jutting even lower. So what if his peck, we have the differentiator up here, like the collarbone's actually way up here, technically, like the top of the pectoral. And like I said, so we'll have the line so we understand that like when we do these little rocky things, we'll have some sort of bend in them. So you can see that there's something going on there. That reads better, I think, because suddenly he's like lurching more. Like the head going down, you know what I mean? Like this is really like deeper in rather than just being it seemed like a floating head at one point. Okay, so I keep avoiding the spot that I don't feel like working on. Is it that obvious? Is it super obvious? I've not. Well, as I say that, I'm like, what if I do something different again? I never even actually drew the belt. I just kind of sketched it in, but now looking at it, I don't think I really need. There's not much to the belt that I need to do, is there? It's just kind of a big circle. And we're getting foreshortened. So that'll be kind of gone anyway. It'll be real thin at the bottom. We wouldn't really see as much of it. And the perspective is kind of warped because I'm kind of playing with it a little bit. Like, yeah, you would either see a little bit of abs or not if you saw the belt like this. But I kind of like just saying, F it. The chest is so big, you wouldn't even see the abs then. That's kind of like where I'm messing with. So again, since this space is so smushed, this is where I've talked about before, where like, even though the design says something exists, right? Like in this case, if we look at his belt, right? Like this part here kind of like goes up. And then it becomes like a whole other pattern going on, right? So this is the blue, and then there's like this bit. It's the fine line of like keeping true to the design, but also like understanding that that might get a little busy. So I'm just gonna leave it at that, because technically there's like the here for, let me switch over to the full screen here. So like on this guy, what I'm looking at, I can't zoom in. Is it not? Anyway, whatever. I'm not zooming in here. It's poor. But like this, right? You see how the belt has like a little bit more detail, like jutting out here, and it like overlaps and does these things. Excuse me. Or there's like this sculpted in detail here, or it's, you know, 3-dimensional and recessed in. I'm not doing that, because the space that I'm working with, it would look ugly. Like, it's as simple as that. It's learning what works in the confines you're actually working with. So technically, is there a lot more detail there? 100%. Does it make sense for me to show that detail? 0%. Like, that's not worth it. You don't gain. My sister. So my sister is a unique individual at times. And you know, on the spectrum, whatever, all good with that. But like, she, at one point, we've got a lot of little cousins, okay? And we have one cousin who, when she was younger, would always want to put on a show, right? Everybody in the family, if we're at a family party, everybody needs to watch her. She's going to do her show, right? Her show being like at a family party, just doing random shit, right? Which, again, I grew up as the older brother to 2 little sisters who are now, what are we? We're like 8 and 12 years apart. So I was like 15, right? Like, I was pretty old when they were still little. But anyway, I'm no stranger to like little kids wanting to do their shows. And, you know, we just, you know, you humor it, you give them attention, you watch it, you clap, and you move on. My sister, one time, she's down at, you know, whatever family party we're at. I don't even, it was at my parents' house, actually. This was years back. And one of the cousins was putting on her show, right? Doing her thing. Looked cute, whatever. A little, I didn't really care at that point. Like, it was, everyone's like half paying attention. But everyone is at least, the way at my parents' house goes, it's like the kitchen, the giant, it's like they have a huge house. The kitchen like leads into like this big dining space, which is like the kitchenette technically, because there's still a dining room. But then it's open floor plan essentially into the living room. So everyone's like in the kitchen or the living room, just facing the direction at least, right? Like, we're all talking amongst ourselves at the family party, and she's doing her thing, whatever. So we're all at least like facing her, giving her some attention. But we're all engaged in our own conversations, probably not everyone, but like, we're all doing our things, right? And there's my sister, the only person standing the opposite direction. Everyone is facing forward to an extent, right? Whether you're angled a little or whatever. Everyone's at least feigning it, like paying attention. However, there she is, back to my little cousin, back to the show, right? Her back is just completely to it, just standing there like this, talking to us the opposite direction. It's like, you can't even turn around. And her phrase she said was, "I gain nothing from this. I gain nothing from this." Such a very black and white way of looking at it in the context of a child. But man, that was such a line that, like, I was like, Jesus, man, that is something. All that to say, when you're doing detail work on something like this, you gain nothing from that, right? Like, you gain nothing from adding more of these details, because they're just going to muddy the waters. They're not going to help anything. You gain nothing from it. Man, I got weird way of connecting stories. I don't know if that's good or bad, but that's how my brain works always. So let's draw the 4. You know, let's do anything I can do that isn't drawing that hand right now, right? Because that's apparently what I'm doing today. So this is the amount of detail I find suitable for this space, right? Because if I do this, if we look at the design of the belt then, what this means is I can still give the color variation when I give color into it, right? Because if you see his belt is basically just blue and gray, right? But if I didn't add any detail to this part of the belt, then it would just be blue, right? And I want to be able to break up this color a little bit. And so the detail I'm deciding to keep is a slightly simplified, right? Very simplified if you look at the shape that his belt is, version of like this stripe. These two different pieces here, so that one is blue, right? And the other inside point, so like where I just shade this in, right? This is gray. So it's nothing huge, but it at least gives it so that when I do add color, there's more variability in that. So that's kind of something I look at too when you're taking more complex designs and simplifying them in drawings or illustrations and stuff. What's the ones that matter? What are the ones you do gain something from? You know, what is actually going to help tell that story that you're trying to illustrate, or just make the image you're showing be attractive, right? Like make more sense and be more intriguing to look at. And so that's a prime example of, oh, all I really want is that little bit, so I can change the color so that it reads a little better. But other than that, I don't need to overdo, don't need to make it as big as the actual design has it. Just enough to have an excuse to change the color. And have an excuse to not draw the hand apparently right now. I'm kind of at that point though, I've got nothing else. I've eliminated all of my options of doing other things now, right? Like all I've got left is to draw the hand. Oh, but Daddy, I love him. But Daddy, I don't want to draw the hand. Normally I'm totally fine with hands. For some reason today, drawing his weird 3-fingered rocky messes, I've been just like not vibing with it. Which is fine, but you know, also embarrassing that normally I'm fine with it. So that said, today I am going to stream. So it is already past 1:30. I was going to stream a little longer than each day right now to get used to back to doing longer streams. So I was probably going to stream till 2:30 today, maybe ish. Because like I said, that's the goal. Tuesday, Thursdays, I'm thinking 10:30 to maybe 3, which is a pretty long time for me. I'm a very antsy person. Like I said, very physically active individual. And so like I always go for my walks. I go to the gym every night. I do all my stuff. I like to be moving around. So sitting here drawing for God knows how many hours is kind of daunting, but I also like it. But yeah, that's one thing. I have like my little bits of chocolate with me. But if I'm going to stream for longer now, I got to eat more, right? I don't like the idea of eating on stream like a full meal, right? That seems gross. I mean, people do it. I don't want to. But anyway, my lunches are normally like a fitness nerd lunch. So I have my protein powder I really like. Over the years, I found it's like a gold standard extreme milk chocolate, right? Different kind. Not the, what is it? The one you can buy at most stores is double milk chocolate. Garbage. Don't eat it. No. Extreme milk chocolate. It's basically only sold at GNC I think Amazon has it, but Amazon's prices are all over the place. But weirdly enough, Costco carries the extreme milk chocolate. No other retail store does, which was so exciting to find out. I was like, this is the greatest news I've ever heard. Like, because I always had to pay more and order it online. But anyway, it's my protein. It is then PB2, which is like just nut powder, peanut powder. And I put those two together. And then I mix it all together with almond milk, sugar-free vanilla. It's the kind I get. Almond milk, mix it all together, and it becomes almost like a yogurty paste in a way. I'm not selling it, but trust me, it's good. And then I keep frozen bananas. Like I chop up bananas once a week, and I have them all diced up, and I put them in my in that medley. And you just mix it all up, and it's just chocolate, peanut butter, banana. Like, again, when people talk about eating healthy and fitness stuff, like, if you know what you're doing and you make something yummy and you get used to doing it, and that's cool by me. Like, but that's my lunch. But I don't necessarily want to do that on stream, because that's like not, that sounds dumb, but it's like it's a paste. It's a weird food. I don't want to eat that on stream, right? And it's like, it takes a sec to put together. And if I put it in the fridge, it would get kind of gross because it would get like overly frozen then with the bananas. But then the bananas would turn to mush, and then you're eating like baby food. I don't want to live that life, right? That's not my vibe. So I need to figure something out. I normally have like a snack of like a little nut bar or something like that, right? Like everyone has that kind of crap. So I brought one up today, and I was going to see if like that would satiate me enough. But like, oh, maybe I'll go, instead of eating lunch at 1:30 like I normally do, maybe I'll have that bar at, 1:32. And then when I get off of stream, then I can make my actual lunch and eat. But we'll see. Just because, like I said, eating that on stream isn't like the worst thing, I guess. I don't know. It seems odd to me. So I did find something, as if you're watching, you can see. I did find something to distract myself to not draw the hand. It's the 4. So I'm a sucker for doing this kind of crap where I'll draw it and then I just distort it. Because if I draw it like with a little bit of perspective the way I want, then the easiest way is to just stretch it even more. If you've got the tools, that's my thing with digital. Like if you're working digitally, just work smarter. Like make it happen. Like I'm not working physically. I don't have the confines of traditional media. I can fudge the hell out of this until it looks good. What was my Bob Ross quote that it's doo-doo until it's not doo-doo, right? That's art, baby. Obviously that I'm assuming it was Bob Ross that said that. But alas, we are nearing the end of my distractions from this last fist, because that 4 is pretty much done. I feel like it needs to rotate just a smidge. That said, I'm so spoiled that like drawing traditionally now seems so weird to me. Like every time I've tried to draw stuff traditionally, my body's like, what in the fart is this? Like, where's my undo? Where's my, like. So here's a good example I'm curious about. So I wanted it to be simpler, right? We've talked about simplifying earlier. So his belt obviously here is recessed, right? So like really, it's like a circle. The belt comes like this, right? It goes up, and then there's like this detail here. But this circle is recessed in, right? So there's like this shadow that would exist receding in because it's inset. And then the 4 exists here. So realistically, what you would do in a normal sense would draw something like this, right? since the angle we're looking at it, we would see the inner part on the bottom, right? We would see this little bit of detail, and then it would kind of go away once we get higher. I'm debating if that is or isn't in the realm that we talked about of necessary information. Because quite frankly, it's unnecessary, but I feel like this looks like a giant circle right now, like a dome shape, and that's not quite what it is. And so I worry that that does not, it's not reading the way I want it to. So I wonder if we have to add this little bit of detail here to make it just look the way I want. Which isn't the worst, but again, I try and avoid having, when I'm, you know, drawing stuff like this, too much detail. That's one of the things I'm trying to get better with, is less is more, which is weirdly easier said than done when it comes to art, especially when you're like anal about detail like I am. More ovally here, so let me just curve that out a little bit. Cool. Cool-ish. Cool adjacent-ish. Whatever song is playing right now is making me sleepy. I need that license-free music that we talked about earlier. Okay, so here's Ben in all of his glory, and here's what I was going to draw. So, you know, somehow we ended here. I don't know how I keep doing this. This was literally the sketch I wanted to draw today. Save that for another day. We'll draw Ben a different day. This is where we ended. But now, draw this damn fist. Can I cheat? Is there... Okay, I'm going to pull the ultimate cheat move. Hold on. Let's scrub through the video. Is there... Am I ever lucky enough that he actually punches at an angle that I can look at it the way I want? Let's go real slow. We're going to do playback hella slow. Let's switch over. Let's go. Let's watch this. Okay. Hella slow. Okay, this is real slow then. How can I be lazy? Right? Work smarter, not harder. Hey, that's kind of the pose I was going to draw. Him in his boxy nature, right? Man, okay, hold on. Hold up, hold up. Hold up. I wonder, can we... Okay, this is like ultimate lazy move. Normally, I'll take a picture of my own hand, right? That's not the perspective I want. But I wonder if I can freeze frame one of his hands and use that as reference. Because like I said, normally I'll just take a picture of my own hand and call it a day. Like, I'll take a picture of my own hand, I'll bop it in the frame I want to draw, and then I use that as immediate reference. Man, he's really fisty. I'm so excited to play as him. He looks... So we're never going to see anything from this perspective. That's gameplay angle, right? You can appreciate just these beautiful 2D effects that they draw. So oh, can I steal something here? Let me get some sticky fingers so I can be lazy. Hold on. Okay, so we're gonna be super jank here. Check this. Check. These are pro artist tips. Okay. when you're struggling, don't keep hitting your head against the wall. It's not gonna work. And oh fuck. Don't keep hitting your head against the wall. Like, find the easier solution and see if it works. Okay? Pro tips. Don't hit your head against the wall. If you're frustrated, just figure something out. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to save this off that. Hold on. Screenshot. 1. Let's totally just throw these on the iPad and see which pose we can just yoink and say, yep. And I can tweak it, right? I always tweak the pose then. But let's go back here. Let's see some fist spin. So the angle we want is a fist that you can see the pointer finger to the thumb, right? Oh, he only has 4 toes then too. That makes sense. 4 toes with the 3 fingers and a thumb. All right, let's steal this one. This one, I don't know if that'll work, but again, let's just yoink some poses and just be lazy, okay? It's okay to be lazy. Again, this is the same idea of me drawing my own hand. I'm just weirdly not in the mood to do that. And let's grab this one then. That's good. We'll see if any of these work, and if not, then we at least see them, right? And sometimes seeing something in perspective helps your brain. So let me pop over here real quick. What I do is I send them. I literally have a thing where it's just called texting myself. And it's just a bunch of things where I text myself. Super advanced techniques of. It's because I use an iPad, and because the iPad is kind of jank then in terms of file sharing with information. So I find it a lot easier to just use Discord and just like literally text it to myself, because the iPad can at least read that, but it can't read other things. I say that as my iPad is frozen now. Fart. It doesn't know how to use Discord. It's very confused. Come on, buddy. You can do it. Okay, now we're cooking. Now we're cooking. Save it. Save it. Save it. Let's get back in Procreate. I know this is boring. You don't see anything, but magic is happening. Or something's happening. I don't know. One thing I hate more than anything is the iPad file structure. Like the file, like the way it works is so dumb. Oh my goodness, can you please cut me some slack? Okay, downloads. Insert a photo. Boom. Other fist. We're almost there, I promise. With our cheaty, scummy, lazy way of doing this. Which probably none of these will work, but that's okay. Done. Cool. I did it. Boop. Back to that loadout. Okay, cool. So back to Ben. Okay, we're back on the iPad. We're back at looking at things. This is my lazy way. When in doubt and you're frustrated and like your head is just like, normally, yes. Can you draw? Yeah, I can do that. Can I draw hands? Yes, I can do that. But what sometimes I do is I just take pictures of my own hands. But guess what I don't feel like doing right now? Taking a picture of my own hand. So let's just lazy and see if something like this is useful or not. And then maybe I will just take a picture of my own hand as a reference. But I just took a couple quick grabs of Rivals here of his actual hands, right? So if we distort this, I mean, I'm not going to lie. If you distort, like, obviously I'm distorting it to my own way I want it. I do believe that kind of works. Am I wrong? Like, why reinvent it? Like, boom. That kind of works. I was gonna use my other, I grabbed 2 other ones, right? I don't have to. Like, cause this one, whoopsies. Like this one here, right, is a different energy, completely different energy than the other. I don't like it, but I took screw and grab it, who cares? Get an idea, see what works, see what doesn't. But my knee-jerk reaction of when I figured out what I thought would look good, looks like it worked. So don't even need to do it, but it's showing you like, you could maybe do something ugly like this and then distort it a little more. Maybe not. That's different energy for sure for the fist, but you get the idea. Boom, get rid of it. This one, don't care. I warp it. I kind of like it. Let's warp it a little more before I kind of do a draw over. Boom, done. Drop the opacity real low. Or actually, here, let me race around it right now so I don't, it's soup. Oh, fudge. Don't mind that. So, again, pro tips, man. Work smarter, not harder. Obviously, I'm not going to draw this hand the exact way. That's boring and very, like, that's even lazier. But I'm just saying, like, now I have an idea exactly of what this hand should look like, right? Why am I reinventing the wheel? So now I can tweak it a little bit more because it still looks a little weird. So again, I took the reference image and now I've just like distorted it to all hell, like from what it originally was to fit what I want. Right? Done. Beautiful. And now let's get rid of that layer. Done. I don't need these other images. This is the other sketch that I had. Cool. Now let's look at the line work I have sketched in. I don't need any of this then, right? So the idea is like a lot of this negative, this space is gone. I kind of liked this idea of accentuating the hand even more, right? Make it really in your face. So I warped the shit out of this. And so because I warped it though, the perspective of his arm needs to change a little bit, I feel like. So let's see what we can do. So maybe his arm comes down a little bit more and it's super foreshortened then, right? So it's coming down here, a little cragginess to break up. It's not really elbow, but it has like that texture. He's got his rings here for his weird not wrist energy, right? And then it's getting kind of messy here, but like too big. Erase, like I always say, erase more. You can always redo it. Who cares? But I also always save a layer. So like right now I have the original layer. So sometimes if I'm like doing big changes, I like to save the old one and then just draw a new set real quick and see if we can make it work that way. I feel like here we're running into an issue too, where it's still not quite the angle I want. There we go. Now we're cooking. Now we're cooking. Something like that is what I was picturing more. So let's erase this again. Just constantly redoing. And that's okay. Again, like I said, be comfortable just trashing your own work, right? The second you get attached to something is the second you fail. Like that seems very harsh, but it's real talk with that. We're like, the second you get attached to what you're drawing, you're no longer like, you're no longer looking at it objectively. And you need to be okay at any moment to say, this is trash, and just throw it away and redo it. This is trash, throw it away, redo it. This is trash, throw it away, redo it. Like, that's all you need to keep doing. Otherwise, you get way too attached and nothing ends up working right. So right here now, his bicep is coming more towards us. So what that means is this shoulder is no longer going to look like this, right? This is trash. That whole arm that we've had this whole drawing, gone. Don't care. Redo it. Because what we need is his bicep technically is doing this now. And the tricep would be down here. The brachialis we talk about. I always like putting the brachialis in. That just helps me ground the arm in my own brain. So maybe tricep cuts a little heavier here. Yeah, let's jut a little bigger. Yeah, he's beefy. And then the arm cuts this way. And then this is where the forearm would begin, right? And then the fist, I'm drawing it my way. Like, I know their hand is very different than mine, but this is my drawing. I'm not copying this. I'm just saying, cool, thank you for the information. Let me, though I will steal these knuckles, totally stealing that right away, right now. Those knuckles are massive rocks, and I think that looks so much better. That's what this is too now. I'm stealing your giant knuckle rocks. A lot better. 100% better. Theft. Big old knuckles. Yeah, that's clean. Okay, so again, kind of just simplify these shapes. I don't know if I want to include this weird wrist thing. I don't like it. It makes sense in 3D space to have this wrist thing, I guess. I don't know if I like it. I'm going to accentuate this curve a little bit more either way, though, than they have, or not they have, this warped, monstrous sense of a drawing had. Okay. Really pull this bicep up, though. Really want this to feel coming at us. So we're probably going to have to redo all of these shoulder pieces. But again, if you can't trash it, you're too committed to the thing, and that's not good. Gotta always be loose and agile with drawing. So much better. And then I don't like how, I wonder if we jut it like this more then. I think that's all I need for that now, right? That fist makes sense. I like that a lot. So for understanding, right? Let's look at this. Let's look at what I copied just for our communication's sake here. So this is that weird fist I took. But now if we look, this is what the fist looked like originally, right? So I warped it, I twisted it, I kind of adjusted however I thought it would fit to the space, right? So there's a thing about understanding that, like, okay, yeah, you can be lazy and super cop out and grab an image like that, like freeze frame, cut, now that's the pose I wanted, right? But you can't just throw it in there because it doesn't work that way. You still have to understand how the form works. You still have to readjust all these pieces. So then I warped the hell out of it to exactly what I wanted. And then I still drew it quite differently in spots. But just for clarification of how that's done, because I don't want it, there's taking a thing and drawing over it, and then there's like taking a thing and understanding why you're warping it, why you're doing these things to make it feel like what you want. So sometimes you just need a jumping off point rather than a direct reference. So anyway, let's get these big old knuckles in. I love this. These knuckles, oh, I can't believe I didn't notice that when I was breaking down his design. These knuckles are my new favorite thing. These huge, huge knuckles. The big rocky thing. A little thin one here, maybe. like we said, kind of contour the shape a little bit so the thumb is moving like that. So you kind of want to accentuate the fact that it is a digit. You know what I mean? It is moving in space. It's not just like a vessel for another big old block. So same with these fingers here, just kind of blocking in a little bit of curves to them so they fit in space on the thumb or on the digits of the fingers. I don't like all of these look the same size on the thumb right here, so I'm going to make one real big, kind of just like the knuckle, so it kind of fits, so it's like a curve like that. And then this one will be smaller, and then this one will be medium. Okay. But I also don't like the way the forearm is sticking out this way. So let's readjust all of these things. What if it is curving inward instead of outward? Does that look better? Yes. Yes, it does. So curve that in. Erase here. It's getting too messy. This is good. So hopefully by the time I'm done streaming, I'll at least have the sketch completed, right? The whole design of Ben in this pose will be done. And from there, hopefully then off stream, I can do a little, probably not, maybe. I always say, hey, off stream, I'm going to do this. I don't. But I think what'll be worthwhile is if I have the sketch done, then on the day he actually releases, which is Friday, I can actually like have fun and just ink him, right? So I'm going to zip out of here for a sec to show like Silac here. This is one of my favorite things to do. I don't really give a crap about colors. I like color, right? Colors are great. Colors can look cool. I really like just thick lines. I love inking stuff. I love making it look comic booky. I love making it pop, right? And so doing stuff like this, these line work pieces help make things pop, right? And even with the Squirrel Girl, as I'm doing it super sketchy, this one, I like giving this kind of sketchy, thick, black, inky line. And I think that comes from being such a comic book kid when I was younger, that like that is how I view pictures. Like in my own head, that's what I see, right? And so right now with this Ben, I look forward then now to here's the sketch work, right? He's drawn out pretty nicely. But now I look forward to just getting in there with the nitty gritty and doing like cleaning him up by making him messy, if that even makes any sense. So I think that's a perfect thing. So now I'll have the sketch ready for Friday, right? Because I think that'll be when I call this then, is once this sketch is done, I'll hop off stream. And then on Friday, I'll have a huge jumping off point, not just a weird little sketch that I need to finesse and figure out what I'm doing, you know? But that said, let's keep looking at these rocks. So what I'm doing now is, because I've talked about this before, like picturing like the shingles, right? That dumb reference I made. Like these are now really curving away from us. These stones of his, these rocky, craggy bits, right? So I'm making sure that these bits of the shoulder are following this curve that I've established for the bicep, right? So if this is where the bicep is, that means this is where the shoulder needs to exist. And so I'm just literally using this as a guideline going around him, right? Nothing too crazy. Most things like this are really not crazy. It's just knowing how and what to do. The process is sometimes not even that, like, you see what I'm doing? This isn't that crazy. I'm just blopping a line and following the contour of it. But it's just knowing that contour and knowing how and when that's sometimes the harder nut to crack. I was trying to think of a stupid pun to go with Ben and some sort of like rock statement. I couldn't think of one. I'm sorry. If someone else has a better one, please put it in chat. I'd appreciate it. Hit me with a good pun that I could have done there. Still just playing with this little spot of the silhouette that was giving me grief before, right? I'm still hung up on it to an extent. Now that I've changed things, now that I've adjusted stuff, it's still getting kind of wonky. But I think this shoulder is now really, I like this angle of the shoulder more. So everything we adjusted here, I think was a worthwhile endeavor that helped this breed even better. Because I really think this looks a lot cleaner and more dynamic now, right? The shoulder lurching forward with this stronger perspective, I think is definitely working. That said, I talked about needing food, right? So I have my water and my little nut bar right here. I'm gonna grab that real quick. I'll be like literally like 10 seconds. I'm always nervous carrying stuff around my desk, right? There's so much equipment here. I'm always like, oh, don't drop water. So, oh gosh. Dropping my medicine too. Just boring daily medicine I have to take for my own struggles and problems. Also, this freeze frame here that we're looking at this whole time, where he's got this electric energy almost, like this molten-y cragginess going through his rock form. I'm gonna steal that. That is definitely something I'm gonna use then for this piece. I think that'll look cool, like in his fists. So like in between the cragginess, you have like that nice bright highlight. For the one in front of us, the one that's like lurching in front of us, right? I think that would go really well. I think that would read really cool. I think now though that I really like the curvature I did with his right shoulder. The left shoulder feels almost more scaly. So I might need to readdress that. This part. What I mean by scaly too. Sorry. Is more so that like if you know scales, there's two ways. They either perfectly line with one another, right? Like lay on top of each other scaling. But sometimes there are certain scales, and especially when the animals are aggravated and different things like that, they actually curve outward a little bit. And so they're going like up and away. And I feel like these curves here are doing that. So to me, that reads more scale. Like imagine like scale mail armor and stuff like that, rather than smooth rock curving with the shape, right? For sure. Now that I keep looking at it in the small form on the screen. Whew. Sorry, I'm almost done. I'm almost done. Don't mind me eating on stream like a weirdo. Whew. Okay. Let us finish this now. Get some cool sketching in with this arm, and then call it a day. Okay? Real close. Home stretch. Like I said, immediately seeing things I want to fix. Like the curvature here. It's feeling a little off. But more importantly, like I said, it's these guys. Something about this isn't reading the way I want it to. So I don't know if all I need to do is kind of like make sure they're more following the curve of the shoulder. I think I'm going to try that first and see if that helps. Because sometimes the simplest solution, like in my head, that's all it needs to be. But sometimes the simplest solution is actually it. So don't try and overthink it. That said, I don't like these beats right now. What are we listening to? Don't like this anymore. Mixing it up. I don't know what this is. Different stuff. Just clicking on another playlist of lo-fi stuff real quick. So I don't want to zoom in too much. And like this curve here, this one was way too, like it's going like this. It's against the curve of what the shoulder's doing. And so I think that's part of why it's been looking weird, is that I need to just make sure these are all kind of not exactly the same. Like I said, keeping it organic still, but the general flow should follow suit of the movement of the muscle rather than going against the grain. Yeah, already that looks better to me. I feel like the front of his shoulder here needs, I'm trying not to make them actual like spiky bits, right? And making sure they're really just like rocks that have, you know, more movement to them. But I think this spot needs like an actual little, like where I'm drawing here, some bigger spikes, like actual like sharper edges, just to denote that this is actually the shoulder still. I feel like it's getting lost with the other parts of the, those are technically like your traps, right? Your traps into the pecs there. Like it's getting lost. And so I want to make sure that these shapes still are standing out among this other nonsense of weird rocky bits and bobs, right? So I think that kind of fixes my problem that we were having earlier. It feels more rounded out. It feels more, ooh, I don't know. Do I do a big one like that instead of these little ones? No, it's too big. But I like the shape that that takes up, like the amount of space it takes up. I just don't like how big it is. So can we solve it by maybe breaking it up so it's not quite like one massive, huge piece? And then doing the same thing by adding just a little bit. So there's some negative space here. Like, do you see how that breaks up that, right? It's not just one big old piece, right? Kind of works. Definitely better than it was. I can say that much, at least with confidence, that this curvature now, we focus on having this shape, right? It's way more curving along the lines of the shoulder rather than being like obtuse and against the grain. So now that we've got that, I think we need to reassess down here where the pants connect. We don't have to do this right now, but I just kind of want to close this area off. And like, here's a prime example like we talked about. Could I draw the leg like this? And this leg might be going down still like that. And then the foot would be like that. 100%, right? That logic makes sense if you draw behind it where the leg would be. But like the end result then would mean you would just see foot. Do you gain? I gain nothing from that, right? I don't gain anything from a little foot sticking out. If anything, it's distracting and weird. So I say, no, thank you. The picture is about him and being clobberin' time, right? That it's his fists. So if we can make a pose where we actually can just eliminate the feet entirely, I think that's really effective. And so that's what we're going to do. So there's barely any leg or feet in this pose, but there's still plenty of leg and feet. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you know it's there. It's just not physically. So this is completely random. I'm going to just try something. I'm just curious. Okay, so I'm going to duplicate this and actually test this out real quick. I almost like this more. Also, here's a good example. So this is what we had with the shoulder. See how that shoulder was very far forward? And now that shoulder's coming at us, right? That's a huge difference. That reads so much better now. I love that. Good call. Good call, team. We did it. High five. Now, all I'm looking at is then the contrast of the other arms, right? He's got two arms. No joke. But now I'm wondering if we push it a little bit, just because this arm feels like kind of closed in. His left arm. Sorry, I point to stuff with the pencil sometimes, and I realize that no one can see it but me. And that is silly. So just for the sake of trying, right? I like to do it just to see. What would it look like if we did a huge, way back? Or what if we do it where it's like super clenched in? I don't know. That's tough. So he normally, the character, right? The character of Ben Grimm, of The Thing, his posing, his body language is much more closed in, right? Because he's always like clobbering time, right? His fists are up. He's more boxer like. So this pose to me kind of makes more sense for the character, cutting it in a little bit like this. Visually, though, in terms of appeal, the actual, like, this to me almost reads better just because it's more fun. Like, just more fun, more movement, more energy. But I don't know if that's always a good thing. Let's try it again. Let's try it. I wanted to be done around 2:30. So that gives me like 10 minutes to play with an idea real quick and see if it'll work, right? Let's do 3 versions and we'll kind of assess on our own, right? So this is version 2. We're going to block in, okay? Version deuce. Okay, so the pec would keep going through here. The shoulder would connect. Fine, bicep, cool beans. Very lurchy still, okay? And if we do this, I wonder if we change the orientation just a little of the arm so it feels more cocked. So there he's ready, right? He's ready to bop. Now we had this one. Or if we duplicate this one more time, now let's try it in a little bit, right? So the other option we had was making it more boxer-like, right? Where their fists are closer to your body. Don't mind me just outlining it carefully. So now here, what if it's just slightly rotated inward? Here, we can pull this away and let me erase a little bit here just to give room, because it's harder to erase it when it's all a mess on top of each other. But if you erase it beforehand, it kind of works. So here we can distort this maybe. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these all in a group. I'm going to duplicate the group. I'm going to turn off the other ones for now. So this is silly, but it's worth trying, right? Let's grab all three and let's scale them down together, okay? I like to do this sometimes just to get a better idea of what we're looking at. So there's one, there's two, and then there's three. I don't know. I kind of like all three of them for different reasons. Though I think the initial one is the one I like the least, right? Like our very first drawing. I don't know. I should have detailed the arms a little better and then done this, frankly, but I didn't. And so that's where we are. Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of torn. So this one now, sorry. Let's say number one, right? Number one here. This is the first one. And this space now feels boring, right? This negative space, it doesn't feel like pushed enough. That feels very neutral. Where this one then, number two, let's say, this is closed in, less negative space, and it feels like it's more tighter, right? Like he's coming at you, like really coming at you. Whereas number three, though, this is so broad of negative space, right? Humongous amount. And it really feels like this curve is coming more strong. But I don't really know if like I'm head over heels over one over the other now. This is tough. Why did I do this to myself? This was stupid. I should have just left it the way it was. Now I'm debating which one looks better. I'm trying to look at it small. Like, which one has a better silhouette? Any opinions in chat? Probably not. I wonder with... Is this the one? Yeah. If you pull it, like if this needs to be, yeah. That would need to be stretched a little more if we did that pose. And then I wonder if this part also would need to be... Oh my goodness, what did I get myself into, fellows? So what I'm looking at right now is just the idea of like, if I wanted this to feel super different, then maybe playing with the back of his body here helps that too, right? If this helps sell the image a little better. So it feels like that, right? One or two? You don't like three? That's your vote? I'm sitting here playing with three. Why do you like one or two more? No, commit. You said one or two. What is the reason you like one or two more? I want to hear opinions. Yeah, I know. I guess so. I liked it being close and to the body, but you know, I love doing more dynamic poses. So I think that's kind of where I'm getting lost in the idea of like, what if he's more dynamic with his movement here, which is why I'm like, this one, I'm adjusting more of the shapes here. So his head would be forward because that pose would dictate a further forward head like that. Right. The power stance is kind of like, so that's where I'm torn because he's jumping though. Like, obviously he's if he's jumping, I feel like your arms would be a little bit wider. So I don't know. One, I feel like I don't like anymore. One is a little too even. Like either I go big or I go, like go big wide or go big tight. But I don't know. Now that I'm looking, maybe one is fine and I'm just overthinking it. I don't know. For sake of argument, I kind of wish I had finished the one arm, like I said, before before doing this. Let me just block in. Can you just do it here? I'm gonna be lazy here. Let's try this, right? Let's see if I can do this. Just real quick. Just so I can maybe I'll post it on Blue Sky. And that'll be what I've got for today to post is this image. And then I'll finish it up on Friday, but then we'll see what the if there is any consensus of thought. And then I'll sleep on it. Always a good thing too. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this once and then I'm just going to copy it over onto the other parts of the arm. He is heavy, but I mean, he's also a superhero, so he can do whatever the hell he wants. But no, that is a fair point. He's a big heavy guy, so he would be like a tighter stance more often, which is why I originally aired on I went to this one first, the closer, right? Because I also felt like it would just be because that's so Ben, like I've said before, he's boxer, right? He is a boxing pose. He does that. That's his stance normally. So I feel like that kind of pose does lend itself to be a little bit more true to the character. Like I said, I just like fun dynamic poses. That's just my thing. I don't know. I don't know. All I know is I'm pretty cool with it. I think that's a good spot if when I'm done drawing for the day, I'm okay with any of them. Like, I don't mind if I were to do any of these three. Like, I think all three to me read well enough that I'm okay with it, which is nice. I feel like sometimes I get lost in the weeds and the stream drawings don't turn out as good. Whereas this one, yeah, I'm cool with it. I think, again, back to my roots, right? Just drawing big old beefy fellas, right? What I know. Draw what you know. I know beefy boys. Okay, so what I was gonna do then, let's see if I can copy this. We're gonna be quick and lazy. Duplicate. And then we just go zoop. And kind of, eyeball it close enough to where the other one was that I drew just now. Kind of like that. Sure. Cool. Close enough. Duplicate. Do the same thing and move it down. So then all three of them at least look samey enough. Right. My handwriting there for the number one looks stupid. Don't mind me just being weird. What a dilemma. Am I right? Okay. So I think that's as good a spot as any to stop then. It is 2:30. Went past the time, but to the time I wanted to then today, right? My goal today was 2:30, so I'm cool with that. Let's my thumbnail, right? Let's get a thumbnail going. Oh, and then the screenshot should be something cool. What's he doing? or I'm sorry, not screenshot, the video. He should be doing something cool. What's he doing? Right? Cool beans. Okay. Thumbnail, right? Oh no, I can't. Shoot. So normally what I do is I take the video that I have recorded, I go to the spot in the video and I screen grab it. But I no longer have that video because I didn't save because I'm an idiot and I forgot to clear my hard drive. Huh. What a dilemma. What a dilemma indeed. I'm going to do my like that's like the YouTuber like but I need to angle this way, right? Or do you flex? Just grim and I don't look very beefy with this big old hoodie on. Either way, I'm sure that's fine. Let's call it quits. Let's do that, okay? So it's been a good stream. Thank you for everybody who joined, who hung out, who chatted for a while. It's been fun. I think we did a good job. We got Ben drawn. We've got a few variations. I'm gonna throw them on Blue Sky, get a consensus of what of a pose maybe, and then I'll maybe finalize that. Either way, what I'll do then, let's say on Friday, we will finish this bad boy up regardless. At least ink him and maybe get some cool colors in, and I'll do like real quick colors with him maybe. Not quite sure, but I think it works. I think we did pretty well. That said, I hope everyone has a good rest of their Wednesday. Good finishing strong to the week, right? Like you're over, Wednesday's almost over. Friday's almost here, which means, you know, the weekend's just around the corner. So hope everybody has a good rest of the week. I will see you guys Friday morning. But until then, be kind and kick butt.